My name is Ren Akiyama, and until last Tuesday the most valuable thing I owned was a rice cooker with a cracked lid. That is not an exaggeration. I was a 19-year-old college student living in an apartment so small that if I stretched both arms out, I could touch my bed and my refrigerator at the same time. The refrigerator had 1 egg, half a bottle of soy sauce, and a mysterious green onion that had somehow become flexible enough to tie into a knot. My bank account had 612 yen. My wallet had 2 receipts, a dead train card, and a coupon for 20% off fried chicken that had expired 3 months ago. That morning, I stood in front of a convenience store holding a tuna mayonnaise rice ball and a carton of milk, doing the most humiliating math battle of my life. If I bought breakfast, I could not afford the bus home after class. If I skipped breakfast, I could afford the bus, but there was a strong chance I would pass out during economics and become the practical example when Professor Sakata explained market collapse. I stared at the rice ball like it was the final boss. Then my stomach growled so loudly that the cashier looked under the counter. I accepted defeat and walked to the register. The total appeared on the screen. Then something strange happened. The payment options popped up. Cash, card, game coin. I blinked. I leaned closer. Game coin. The word was printed in bright blue beside a tiny golden crown symbol. For a second I thought the convenience store had launched some embarrassing loyalty program. Maybe I had to buy 12 steamed buns to earn 1 game coin. Maybe after saving 10,000, I could exchange them for a plastic spoon. Then I recognized the crown. My soul left my body. Game coin was the currency from an ancient mobile game called Kingdom Tapper Legends. Calling it a game was generous. Kingdom Tapper Legends was basically a screen with a castle, a button, and several badly animated chickens. You tapped the castle to earn coins. You spent the coins to make the castle earn more coins. Then you used those coins to buy a dragon that earned more coins while wearing a tiny crown. That was the entire civilization. I had played it obsessively when I was 13. Not because it was fun, because I was 13. At 13, I believed becoming number 1 on a fake leaderboard was a meaningful life goal. I remembered staying up under my blanket with my old phone glowing like a sacred artifact. I remembered setting alarms every 2 hours because the game had an event called the Infinite Moon Potato Harvest. During that event, 1 potato field generated game coins while the app was closed. The developers accidentally forgot to cap the offline reward multiplier. Normal players noticed after a week and got bored. I noticed after 6 hours and turned it into a lifestyle. I left the game running on an old phone for years. I logged in during vacations. I watched terrible ads for double rewards. I exploited a bug where changing the phone language reset the daily chest. I was not a hacker. I was worse. I was a bored middle schooler with unlimited patience. Eventually, the servers shut down. The game disappeared from the store, and I forgot about it until that morning. I asked the cashier what game coin meant. He looked at me like I had asked what money was. He pointed at the screen. Apparently, game coin had been added overnight as a legal payment method across the country. The government had announced an emergency monetary integration at 4:12 in the morning. Banks, stores, vending machines, parking meters, online shops, and tax systems had all updated automatically. Nobody knew why. Nobody knew how. But everyone's old Kingdom Tapper Legends account balance had been recognized as real money. 1 game coin was worth 1 yen. I nearly dropped the milk. The cashier shrugged and said most people had already checked their old accounts. His balance was 340 game coins. The lady behind me had 812. Some teenager near the drink aisle shouted because he had 1,900 and immediately started bragging like he had become a finance emperor. I slowly pulled out my phone. My current phone could barely open a weather app without warming up like a frying pan. But I found Kingdom Tapper Legends sitting in my old download history. Somehow, the download button worked again. The app installed in 6 seconds. The crown icon appeared. My hands started shaking. I opened it. The old login screen loaded. The music played. That stupid trumpet melody hit me with such force that I remembered homework assignments I had not thought about in 7 years. The game welcomed me back. Then my balance appeared. 8,472,119,300 game coins. I stared at the number. I counted the commas. Then I counted them again because poor people do not trust commas. 8,472,119,300. My tuna rice ball cost 138. For the first time in my life, breakfast was no longer a financial strategy meeting. I pressed game coin. The register made a cheerful ding. Balance remaining 8,472,119,162. I had just spent fake dragon money on a real rice ball. The rice ball tasted exactly the same, which somehow made the situation even crazier. I walked outside in a daze and sat on the curb. Around me, the entire city was exploding into confusion. People were running while staring at phones. A businessman hugged a vending machine because he discovered he had 60,000 game coins. A grandmother laughed so hard she had to sit down because her grandson had installed the game on her tablet years ago and apparently left a chicken farm running. A man in a suit screamed into his phone that his company treasury now accepted royal chicken tokens. News alerts arrived every few seconds. Gamecoin accepted for public transportation. Gamecoin accepted for rent. Gamecoin recognized by major banks. Gamecoin can be exchanged 1-to-1 for yen. I looked at my balance again. Then I did what any responsible person would do after becoming a billionaire because of a discontinued chicken tapping game. I bought another rice ball. The second one had salmon. I ate it slowly. That was the exact moment my personality started changing. Not in an evil way. More like my brain finally realized it was no longer trapped in survival mode. I did not have to compare noodle prices anymore. I did not have to pretend water counted as lunch. I did not have to keep wearing sneakers whose soles had become philosophical questions. So I walked into an electronics store. A salesman asked what phone I wanted. Normally, I would have searched for the cheapest model and asked whether the display unit was for sale. Instead, I pointed at the most expensive phone in the store. Then I pointed at the second most expensive one. Then I bought both because I could not decide which color looked better. The salesman stared at me. I paid 420,000 game coins. The crown icon flashed. My balance barely moved. That feeling was dangerous. 5 minutes later, I bought wireless earbuds because I had spent 3 years untangling the same broken cable. Then I bought a tablet, then a gaming laptop, then a portable battery the size of a brick because I had spent my childhood protecting Kingdom Tapper Legends from low power warnings, and some wounds never heal. I left the store carrying 7 bags. That was when I saw the car dealership across the street. A black Lamborghini sat behind the glass like a demon had been turned into transportation. I had never entered a luxury car dealership in my life. I assumed if I stepped inside wearing my old hoodie, an alarm would go off, but a digital sign in the window caught my attention. Special game coin price 400,000. I stopped walking. I checked my phone. I checked the sign. I checked my phone again. The Lamborghini cost less than the phone and tablet I had just bought. That made absolutely no economic sense. Then the news explained why. The government had declared a temporary game coin conversion system, but businesses were allowed to set independent promotional prices. Since nearly everyone had only a few hundred coins, companies were racing to attract people with old game balances. Most stores thought someone with even 50,000 game coins was a legendary whale. They did not know I was a prehistoric sea monster. I entered the dealership. The salesman looked at my bags, my cheap hoodie, and my exhausted student face. I could see him preparing the polite sentence used to remove confused teenagers from expensive places. I pointed at the Lamborghini. I asked whether the 400,000 game coin price was real. He said yes, but the promotion was limited to 1 vehicle per account. I told him that was fine. Then I paid. The screen dinged. The salesman froze. The manager came out. He froze too. A woman holding a clipboard dropped the clipboard. The whole dealership became a museum exhibit called Rich Student Appears Without Warning. There was only one problem. I did not have a driver's license, so I bought the Lamborghini and had it delivered to my apartment parking lot, where it occupied a space that cost more per month than my original food budget. I took the bus to class. That part was important. I arrived 30 minutes late because I had stopped to buy a Lamborghini. Professor Sakata was furious. He asked why I was late. I looked at the giant screen behind him where today's lecture title read, Sudden Liquidity Events and Consumer Irrationality. I said very quietly that I had experienced a consumer irrationality. The class laughed. Then everyone's phones buzzed at once. A new government announcement had been issued. Citizens were required to link their GameCoin accounts to national banking profiles by midnight. Accounts with balances above 1 million would receive a temporary spending review to prevent fraud. My heart stopped. Above 1 million. I had 8,000 times that. I imagined government officials arriving at my apartment, opening the refrigerator, seeing the flexible green onion, and demanding to know why a billionaire had been living like a cave creature. Then another notification appeared. Kingdom Tapper Legends global ranking restored. My thumb moved before my brain could stop it. I opened the ranking. Number 1 had 41 million game coins. Number 2 had 12 million. Number 3 had 8 million. I scrolled. My name was not there. I refreshed. Still not there? Then a message appeared. Legacy accounts with balances exceeding the historical integer display limit require manual verification. I almost laughed. Teenage me had farmed so hard that the game itself considered my account suspicious 7 years later. That should have been reassuring. Instead, the professor's assistant walked into the room and whispered something to him. Professor Sakata looked at me. Then everyone else looked at me. Someone had posted a video from the Lamborghini dealership. The video title said, "Broke-looking student buys supercar using 400,000 game coins." My classmates started checking the video. My friend Daichi, who sat 2 seats away, turned so slowly that his neck looked mechanical. Daichi had known me for a year. He had watched me save ketchup packets from fast food restaurants. He had once lent me 2,000 yen and accepted repayment in instant noodles. He stared at the video. Then he stared at me. Then he stared at my old shoes. His expression said I had violated the natural order. After class, he dragged me outside and demanded an explanation. I showed him my phone. Not the full balance. I was not stupid. I covered most of the digits with my thumb and let him see that I had more than 10 million. Daichi nearly walked into a wall. He had 73 game coins. He had spent them that morning on a canned coffee and was already regretting it. I told him the truth. Childhood obsession. Idle farming. Moon potato event. Daily chest bug. Years of unattended chicken income. Daichi listened with the expression of a man hearing that laziness had finally become an investment strategy. Then he asked the question I had not considered. What happened to the game items? I opened Kingdom Tapper Legends again. My coin balance was ridiculous, but my inventory was worse. I had 14,000 royal chickens, 800 crystal wheat farms, 300 dragon accountants, 1 legendary golden potato king, and something called the Infinite Treasury Castle, which I did not remember buying. Most items had descriptions saying decorative legacy asset, but a few had new symbols beside them. Exchangeable. Daichi tapped 1. A menu appeared. Convert 1 royal chicken into registered commercial poultry voucher. We stared at each other. I pressed cancel. Neither of us wanted to discover whether a live chicken would appear in the hallway. Then we found the dragon accountant. Convert 1 dragon accountant into premium financial advisory credit worth 50,000 game coins. That was less interesting. Then we found the Infinite Treasury Castle. Its description had changed. Legacy owner benefit. Unlocks crown tier game coin banking status. My screen went black. A gold crown appeared. Then my banking app opened by itself. My account had changed. Crown tier. Game coin transfer limit none. Conversion fee 0. Luxury transaction review waived. Daily purchase cap none. Daichi sat down on the floor. I was starting to understand something terrifying. The world had not simply turned game coins into money. It had turned the stupid systems from Kingdom Tapper Legends into financial rules. And teenage me had accidentally become nobility. That should have been the craziest event of the day. It was not even lunch. At noon, the campus cafeteria announced that meal prices could be paid in game coins. There was a normal student curry for 420 yen, or a special game coin promotional dragon curry for 10 game coins. Everyone rushed the counter. The cafeteria ran out in 6 minutes. I used 2,000 game coins to buy lunch for every student in my economics class. Partly because I was feeling generous, and partly because I wanted Professor Sakata to stop looking at me like I was a walking monetary policy disaster. It worked for exactly 4 minutes. Then a bank representative arrived on campus looking for me. Her name was Ms. Kuroda. She wore a gray suit, sharp glasses, and the expression of a person who had not slept since game coin became legal tender. She asked if I was Ren Akiyama. My instinct was to lie. Unfortunately, I was standing beside a digital screen showing my viral Lamborghini video. I admitted it. She said my account had triggered 7 automatic alerts, 3 emergency verification systems, and something called the National Improbable Liquidity Protocol. I asked whether I was in trouble. She said no. Then she asked how many game coins I had. I said a lot. She asked for a number. I said more than 1 million. She stared at me. I said more than 10 million. She kept staring. I said more than 100 million. Her left eyebrow moved. I finally showed her the screen. 8,471,299,162 game coins. Ms. Kuroda did not faint. I respected her for that. She simply took off her glasses, cleaned them, put them back on, and checked again. Then she called someone and said they needed the large conference room. Not a large conference room. The large conference room. I told her I had class. She told me the governor of the bank could write me a note. That was the moment I realized I might not be going to economics class anymore. I might be the economics class. Ms. Kuroda took Daichi and me to the headquarters of Sakura Central Bank in a black sedan that smelled like leather despair and fear. I spent the ride staring out the window while Daichi stared at my balance. Every few minutes he whispered a different number to himself, apparently trying to understand what 8 billion actually meant. By the time we arrived, he had concluded that I could buy approximately 58 million convenience store rice balls. That was the first financial analysis of my fortune. And honestly, it was still more useful than anything I had learned in class. The large conference room was on the 42nd floor. 12 executives were waiting around a polished table. There were lawyers, government observers, banking engineers, and one exhausted-looking man whose only job seemed to be refreshing the GameCoin exchange screen every 3 seconds. They all stood when I entered. I nearly turned around to see who important had walked in behind me. Ms. Kuroda introduced me as the holder of a Crown Tier Legacy account. Half the room started typing. The governor of the bank, Mr. Matsuda, asked me to confirm my balance. I showed the screen. One lawyer quietly removed his glasses. Another man drank an entire cup of water without stopping. Mr. Matsuda asked how I had accumulated the coins. I explained the moon potato harvest. Nobody understood. I explained the language reset daily chest book. They understood even less. I explained that 13-year-old me had calculated the ideal offline farming cycle and kept the game installed on 3 old phones. The banking engineers suddenly looked impressed. The government observers did not. One of them asked whether I had manipulated the market. I reminded him the market had not existed yesterday. He wrote something down. Then they explained my situation. GameCoin had become legal tender through a system no bank had created. At exactly 4 o'clock that morning, every major financial network in the country had received a verified update package. The code was valid. The signatures were valid. The legal records had somehow been updated as if GameCoin integration had been approved months ago. Even stranger, other countries were reporting the same thing. The old game currency was now recognized worldwide. But there was a problem. Most active balances were tiny. The average person had fewer than 600 game coins. The wealthiest publicly known account had 41 million. Then there was me. I had more game coins than several national banks currently had in reserve. I asked whether that meant I was going to be taxed into dust. Mr. Matsuda said the emergency law treated pre-existing game coin balances as inherited digital property, which meant there was no immediate acquisition tax. Daichi made a sound like a kettle. I asked whether I could spend the money. Mr. Matsuda said yes, technically. I asked what technically meant. He said if I tried to convert all 8 billion into yen at once, every finance ministry in the country would probably call him personally. So I promised not to do that. He relaxed. Then I asked if I could still buy things directly with GameCoin. He said yes. He became tense again. Apparently direct GameCoin purchases did not require conversion. Businesses accepted the coins through a new settlement network, and the system compensated them automatically. In other words, if a store listed a yacht for 1 million game coins, I could tap my phone and leave with a yacht. I did not know how to sail. That had not stopped me with the Lamborghini. Mr. Matsuda gave me a special black bank card linked to my GameCoin wallet. The card had a crown on it. I hated how much I liked it. Then Ms. Kuroda showed me something even more dangerous. Crown tier accounts had access to merchant priority pricing. Kingdom Tapper Legends had once given high-level players ridiculous discounts in its in-game shop. Apparently those discounts had also become real. My account had a permanent 90% reduction on certain categories marked Kingdom Infrastructure. I asked what counted as Kingdom Infrastructure. She turned her laptop around. Hotels, warehouses, farms, commercial kitchens, apartment buildings, theme parks, one airport hangar for some reason. Daichi grabbed my shoulder. He told me never to open that menu while bored. That was excellent advice. I ignored it 6 hours later. Before that though, I had to survive my first encounter with GameCoin celebrity culture. When I left the bank, there were cameras outside. Someone had leaked that a Crown Tier account holder had been brought in for verification. Reporters surrounded me. They shouted questions about my balance, my plans, my investment strategy, and whether I intended to run for office. I was 19. My longest-term strategy until that morning had been trying to make 1 bag of rice last until Friday. I did not answer. Then a glossy red sports car rolled up to the curb. A young man stepped out wearing sunglasses even though the sun was already behind the buildings. I knew him immediately. Kazuma Sayonji. He was 21, the son of a famous hotel family and currently the most famous game coin holder in the country. His balance was 41,203,900. He had already appeared on 3 news programs calling himself the Coin King. I knew this because the bank conference room television had been showing his face on mute for 2 straight hours. Kazuma walked through the reporters like he owned the sidewalk. He smiled smiled at me and asked whether I was the mysterious crown tier player. I said maybe. He told the cameras that he welcomed competition. I had not realized we were competing. Then he announced that he was buying the top floor penthouse of the Imperial Sky residence for 18 million game coins that evening. The reporters went wild. Kazuma looked at me like he had just placed a card on the table. He asked what I planned to buy. I thought about saying nothing. I thought about saying a sandwich. Then my phone vibrated. A game coin merchant promotion appeared. Imperial Sky Residence special crown tier offer. Entire building 12 million game coins. I stared at the notification. Kazuma was paying 18 million for one penthouse. My stupid account could buy the whole building for 12 million because the system classified it as kingdom housing infrastructure. This was not my fault. I want that clearly stated. I showed Daichi. Daichi covered his face. I pressed purchase. A golden animation exploded across my screen. Transaction complete. Ownership transfer initiated. The reporters were still waiting for my answer. I told Kazuma I had just bought the building. Nobody reacted for 3 full seconds. Kazuma laughed, then his phone buzzed. The Imperial Sky Residence app sent him a notice that his penthouse reservation had been cancelled because the property had changed ownership. His laugh disappeared. The reporters became a stampede. I escaped into the bank sedan while Daichi laughed so hard he could not breathe. That accidental purchase became national news before we reached my apartment. The headline called it the first game coin billionaire battle. There was no battle. I had tapped a discount notification because Kazuma annoyed me, but the public did not care. By sunset, people were making edited videos of me and Kazuma firing golden coins at each other like anime attacks. Someone gave me glowing eyes. Someone gave Kazuma a cape. Someone replaced the Imperial Sky residence with a giant chicken. The internet was moving faster than the economy. I finally arrived home and found my Lamborghini parked beside 3 bicycles and a laundry rack. My landlord, Mrs. Tanaka, stood outside staring at it. She had known me since I moved in. She knew I paid rent exactly 2 days before the late fee. She knew I had once asked whether I could fix a broken cabinet with tape instead of paying for repairs. She looked at the Lamborghini. Then she looked at me. Then she asked if I had joined organized crime. I told her it was mobile game money. For some reason, she accepted that explanation immediately. Apparently, the morning had lowered everyone's standards for reality. I paid 6 months of rent in advance. Then I added another 6 months because watching the payment screen no longer hurt my soul. Mrs. Tanaka nearly cried. I felt good for about 20 seconds. Then the Imperial Sky Residence Management Office called me. The entire building had officially transferred into my name. It contained 118 luxury apartments, 4 restaurants, a rooftop pool, a gym, underground parking, and a private elevator system. The property manager wanted to know what changes the new owner planned to make. I had no changes. I had not even seen the building from the inside. I told him to keep everything running exactly as before. Then he informed me that 12 apartments were currently empty. I looked around my room. My bed touched my desk. My desk touched my refrigerator. The refrigerator door could not open fully because of a chair. I realized I owned 12 empty luxury apartments while living in a room where I had to move my backpack to access the bathroom. That seemed stupid even by my standards. So Daichi and I drove to the Imperial Sky residence. When I say drove, I mean Daichi drove my Lamborghini because he had a license, and I sat in the passenger seat gripping the door handle like a terrified grandmother. He spent the entire trip shouting that the acceleration was beautiful. I spent the entire trip learning why seatbelts were invented. At the building entrance, the staff lined up to greet me. I told them not to do that again because it made me feel like I had accidentally invaded a small country. The property manager, Mr. Ono, showed us the penthouse Kazuma had wanted. It was absurd. The living room was bigger than my entire apartment building floor. The bathtub had a window overlooking the city. The kitchen had appliances with screens larger than my old phone. There was a private garden in the sky. Daichi opened one closet and said his family could live in it. I checked the closet. He was correct. I decided to move in. Then I remembered my cracked rice cooker. I went back for it. That rice cooker had survived poverty with me. It deserved to see the view. By 9 o'clock that night, I was sitting in a luxury penthouse eating instant noodles from the cracked rice cooker while a Lamborghini sat downstairs and 8 billion game coins glowed on my new phone. I thought the day could finally calm down. Then Kingdom Tapper Legends sent me a notification. Legacy event restored. Royal Migration Festival. I opened it. A giant cartoon ship bounced across the screen. The event description said players could spend coins to relocate citizens between kingdoms. I almost closed it. Then another window appeared. Real world integration active. Available kingdom citizens. 126,400. I stared at the number. I had no idea what that meant. Daichi leaned over my shoulder. We opened the details. Apparently, in the old game, every farm, bakery, mine, and castle generated tiny non-playable citizens. They were meaningless population numbers used to unlock achievements. My abandoned kingdom had 126,400 of them. The real-world system had translated them into something completely different: housing priority vouchers. Each citizen token could be used to cover 1 month of rent assistance for one person, up to a maximum value of 80,000 game coins. Daichi went silent. That was not a funny chicken. That was potentially useful. I had grown up watching my mother work extra shifts whenever rent increased. I knew what it felt like when a bill sat on the table and everyone pretended not to look at it. So I tested one voucher on myself. My old apartment rent for the next month was instantly covered. I tested another on Daichi. His rent was covered too. Then I did something reckless. I opened the Imperial Sky Residence tenant system and applied vouchers to every employee who requested housing assistance. The system accepted them. Word spread. Within an hour, the building lobby was full of staff staring at phones because their next month's rent had vanished. I had used only 37 citizen tokens. I still had more than 126,000. I should have stopped there. Instead, I posted a simple message on my newly created public account. I said I had some extra housing vouchers from the game and would test a small student rent program at my university. I expected maybe 50 replies. I received 80,000 in 15 minutes. My phone became hot enough to cook the flexible green onion. The news picked it up. Students began gathering outside the university administration building. People started calling me the Rent Lord. I hated that name immediately. Daichi loved it. The university president called me at 10:20 at night. He spoke with the careful politeness of a man who had just discovered one of his students could accidentally buy the campus. He asked whether I wanted to discuss a formal program. I said yes, because I did not want random people sending me private documents through social media. We agreed to meet the next morning. Then another message arrived. This one was from Kazuma. He had seen the rent vouchers. He accused me of using Game Coin charity to increase my public ranking. I checked the public ranking. I still was not listed. I sent him a screenshot showing nothing. He replied with a laughing emoji and said that proved I was pretending to have crown tier status. I considered showing him the balance. Then I remembered something my mother used to say whenever I argued with children at school. Never wrestle with someone who enjoys being dirty, because eventually people only see two dirty children. So I did not argue. I went to sleep. At 2:13 in the morning, a helicopter landed on my rooftop. I woke up convinced the building was under attack. I ran into the living room wearing pajama pants and holding the cracked rice cooker lid like a shield. The property manager called. He explained that the penthouse came with rooftop helicopter access. I asked why someone was using it at 2 in the morning. He said it was mine. I said I did not own a helicopter. He said the previous property package included one. I stood in silence. Then he added that the helicopter had been delivered because the building ownership transfer was complete. I walked to the roof. A sleek black helicopter sat beneath the lights. The pilot handed me a keycard and congratulated me. I asked what I was supposed to do with it. He said that was usually up to the owner. I looked at the helicopter. I looked at the city. I looked at my cracked rice cooker lid. 24 hours earlier, I had debated whether breakfast was too expensive. Now my apartment had come with aviation, and somehow that still was not the strangest thing waiting for me in the morning. I discovered the next morning that being rich does not stop alarm clocks from being evil. My phone screamed at 7 o'clock. I rolled out of a bed large enough to have weather patterns and nearly forgot where I was. For 5 peaceful seconds, I thought the previous day had been a dream. Then I saw the helicopter outside the window. Right, billionaire chicken money. I showered, put on my least wrinkled university clothes, and went to the kitchen. The penthouse refrigerator was completely empty because I had forgotten rich apartments do not automatically generate food. So despite owning a luxury tower, a supercar, and apparently a helicopter, I ate instant noodles for breakfast. That felt correct. Daichi arrived 10 minutes later carrying convenience store bread and acting as if he had always visited penthouses before class. He had appointed himself my unofficial financial bodyguard, which mostly meant he slapped my hand away whenever I opened merchant promotions. We were about to leave when Kingdom Tapper Legends made the old quest complete sound. I froze with one shoe on. A notification appeared. Daily quests are now active. I had forgotten daily quests even existed. When I was 13, they gave tiny rewards for pointless tasks like tapping the castle 50 times or buying 3 chicken sheds. Now the list had been updated. Purchase breakfast complete. Use public transportation complete yesterday. Spend at least 1,000 game coins helping another registered player complete. Own 1 kingdom class residence complete. Reward available. 5 royal mystery crates. Daichi told me not to touch them. I touched them. The first crate became a digital coupon for 1 year of free convenience store meals. The second became a home appliance credit. The third became a 2-night hot spring trip. The fourth became 50,000 game coins. The fifth displayed a picture of a horse. We stared at it. The text read, Royal Mount Voucher. Redeem for 1 premium horse from a registered stable. I closed the app. Daichi nodded with deep approval. We had finally learned restraint. Then my phone buzzed again. Bonus quest. Arrive at university before 8:30. Reward 3x reputation multiplier. I had no idea what reputation did, but years of gaming had damaged my brain permanently. The moment I saw a bonus quest, I needed to complete it. It was 8:12. The university was 20 minutes away by car in morning traffic. I looked toward the rooftop. Daichi saw my face. He said no. 8 minutes later, we were in the helicopter. I hired the pilot who had delivered it because, once again, I had no idea how to operate the machine I owned. The university did not have a helipad. Fortunately, it had a soccer field. Unfortunately, the soccer team was practicing. We did not land on them. I want that clear. The pilot contacted campus security. The field was cleared. And at 8:27, my helicopter touched down beside a goalpost while 60 students filmed it. I stepped out carrying my backpack. Professor Sakata happened to be walking nearby with coffee. He looked at me. He looked at the helicopter. He looked back at me. Then he poured the coffee into a trash can and walked away. I completed the quest. My reputation score tripled. I still did not know what reputation did. That became a problem almost immediately. At 9 o'clock, I met the university president, the housing office, and 3 administrators to set up the student rent voucher program. We created simple rules. Students with verified financial need could apply through the university. The university would confirm the information, and I would use citizen tokens to cover part or all of 1 month's rent. I wanted the program to start small. The system had other ideas. Because my reputation multiplier was active, every voucher I used counted as 3 toward an achievement called Benevolent Landlord. After the first 100 students were approved, I unlocked a reward. Kingdom District Upgrade. The university's student housing office received an automatic offer to classify 3 old dorm buildings as my supported district. If I paid 800,000 game coins, the system would fund repairs, furniture replacement, faster internet, and a ridiculous decorative fountain. The university president nearly fell out of his chair. Those dorms had been waiting for renovation funding for 4 years. I looked at the price, 800,000. My balance still had more digits than my student identification number. I paid. The transaction cleared instantly. Then the system asked me to choose a district theme. The options were Royal Garden, Dragon Fortress, Moon Potato Village, and Minimal Modern. I chose Minimal Modern because I had dignity. Daichi grabbed my phone and changed it to Moon Potato Village. The renovation contract locked. I stared at him. He ran. By lunch, architectural renderings showed 3 student dorms with normal modern interiors and giant smiling potato mascots in the courtyards. The students loved them. I began questioning whether dignity had ever mattered. The reputation bonus also attracted merchants. My inbox filled with offers. Luxury watches, cars, private islands, designer furniture, a company selling custom armored golf carts, a man offering to build me a throne with refrigerated cup holders. I deleted that message. Then I restored it because refrigerated cup holders sounded useful. But the most interesting invitation came from a new marketplace called Coin Crown Exchange. It was hosting the country's first major game coin auction that evening. Every item could only be purchased using game coin. The auction included rare cars, art, property, a racing yacht, a small private aircraft, and 1 mystery lot provided by the original publisher of Kingdom Tapper Legends. That last part caught my attention. The original publisher, Pixel Forge Mobile, had shut down years ago, yet now they were apparently participating in an auction. I checked their website. It had returned overnight. The company page listed 12 employees. The contact address was an office building that had been empty for 3 years. Daichi said that sounded haunted. I said software could not be haunted. My phone immediately played the Kingdom Tapper Legends login trumpet by itself. I changed the subject. We went to the auction. It was held in a hotel ballroom full of people who had spent the entire day discovering they were richer than yesterday. Some had 5,000 game coins and dressed like emperors. Some had 500,000 and brought financial advisors. A retired delivery driver had 2.3 million because his daughter had installed the game on his phone in 2015 and never uninstalled it. He was wearing the same jacket he wore for work and looked deeply confused by the champagne. Then Kazuma arrived. Of course he did. He walked in with cameras following him and a new silver suit that looked more expensive than my first apartment building. He had spent the day making dramatic purchases online: a yacht for $4 million, a villa for $6 million, a collection of watches for $900,000. He had also launched a public channel called Coin King Kazuma, where he rated expensive objects by throwing gold-colored poker chips at them. I did not understand the concept, but he already had 2 million followers. When he saw me, he smiled. He asked whether I had come to watch real spending. I was tempted to leave just to annoy him. Then the auction began. The first lot was a vintage sports car. Kazuma won it for 700,000 game coins. He glanced at me. I did nothing. The second lot was a diamond watch. He won it for 300,000. I did nothing. The third lot was a painting of a horse standing inside a convenience store. Someone else paid 120,000 for it. I did not understand art. Then the auctioneer announced a rare opportunity: a fully renovated seaside resort hotel, 180 rooms, private beach, 3 restaurants, and event facilities. Starting bid, 9 million game coins. Kazuma raised his paddle immediately. His family owned hotels. This was clearly his territory. Another bidder offered 9.5 million. Kazuma went to 10 million. The room became excited. I checked my phone. A crown tier merchant overlay had appeared. Kingdom infrastructure category detected. Effective bid rebate 90%. That meant if I bid 11 million, I would only pay 1.1 million. I slowly raised my paddle. 11 million. Kazuma looked at me. He bid 12. I bid 13. He bid 14. I bid 15. People started filming. Kazuma's smile tightened. He bid 18 million. That was almost half his original fortune. I looked at the hotel photographs. It was nice, but I did not need a resort. I also remembered what happened when I bought the Imperial Sky residence because of pride, so I lowered my paddle. Kazuma won for 18 million. He leaned back, victorious. Then his phone displayed the full transaction amount. His balance dropped hard. He had about 11 million left after his other purchases. He had spent most of his fortune in one day trying to look richer than me. I felt slightly bad. Then the auctioneer announced the next lot: a neighboring seaside commercial district containing 12 small shops, a marina lease, and the access road leading to Kazuma's new resort. Starting bid, 2 million game coins. My crown tier overlay appeared again. Kingdom infrastructure, 90% rebate. I raised my paddle. 2 million. Nobody else bid. I paid 200,000. Kazuma stared at the screen showing the map. I now owned the shops surrounding his resort and the marina next door. I had not planned that. The universe had simply placed a banana peel beneath his ego. Daichi whispered that I should open a cheap noodle shop across from the luxury hotel. I told him absolutely not. 10 minutes later, we had named it Crown Noodles. Then the auction reached the private aircraft. It was a small 6-seat jet, used but recently serviced. Starting price 1.8 million game coins. I became very still. Daichi noticed. He reminded me I already had a helicopter I could not fly. I told him a jet was different. He asked how. I said it had wings. This was not persuasive. Kazuma could no longer comfortably bid. The other wealthy players hesitated because 1.8 million was enormous relative to their balances. I checked for a crown tier discount. None. Aircraft did not count as kingdom infrastructure. Apparently medieval kings had failed to plan ahead. I almost bid anyway. Then the auctioneer announced the jet came with 1 year of hangar storage. My phone flashed. Airport hangar compatibility detected. Bundled kingdom infrastructure rebate eligible. I started laughing. The system applied the 90% discount to the entire bundle because the hangar was included. I raised my paddle. 1.8 million. Sold. My actual charge was 180,000 game coins. I had bought a private jet for less than some people paid for used cars. The ballroom went silent when the payment confirmation appeared on the public transaction screen. Kazuma stood up. He demanded to know how I had received such a massive rebate. I told him my account had an old castle. That explanation made him angrier. The internet exploded again. By the time the auction reached the final mystery lot, clips were already spreading with captions saying, "Broke student buys private jet with mobile game discount." I wanted to enjoy the moment, then the lights in the ballroom dimmed. The auctioneer stopped joking. A glass case was rolled onto the stage. Inside was an old cracked smartphone. I recognized the model. It was the exact phone used in the first public promotional campaign for Kingdom Tapper Legends. The screen was still on. The game was open. The auctioneer explained that the device had been recovered from the abandoned Pixel Forge mobile office that morning, Its account contained no coins, no buildings, no chickens, only one item, a black key labeled Server 0. My Kingdom Tapper Legends app vibrated so hard in my pocket that I felt it through my jacket. A message appeared. Legacy owner detected. Crown tier hidden quest available. Acquire the Server 0 key. Reward unknown. For the first time all day, the ridiculous old game was asking me to buy something I actually wanted, and every serious game coin collector in the ballroom had just realized the same thing. The auctioneer started the Server 0 key at 500,000 game coins. 20 paddles went up. The price passed 1 million in less than 10 seconds. Then 2 million. Then 3. Nobody knew what the key did. That did not matter. Human beings have a special weakness for mysterious objects in glass boxes. If you put a rusty spoon under dramatic lighting and call it forbidden, someone will mortgage a house for it. Kazuma jumped back into the bidding at 4 million. Apparently nearly bankrupting himself on a hotel had not cured him. A cryptocurrency influencer offered 5 million. A retired dentist with an old legendary account offered 6. Kazuma went to 7. The room started cheering every time the number increased. I did nothing. Daichi asked if I had changed my mind. I showed him the hidden quest on my phone. The reward was unknown, but a new line had appeared. Quest condition: acquire Server 0 key through a valid legacy transaction. Not purchase. Transaction. Those words were different. I opened my inventory. The auction continued. 8 million. 9 million. Kazuma was sweating now. He only had about 11 million left, but he kept raising his paddle because cameras were watching. I scrolled through my ancient items. Royal chickens. Crystal wheat farms, dragon accountants, golden potato king, a useless cosmetic crown called slightly larger crown, 32,000 sacks of moon fertilizer. Then I found something I had completely forgotten. Founder trade token. I had received 3 during the game's 5th anniversary. They allowed players to trade one item directly without using the normal market. 2 remained. The description now said valid for registered legacy asset transfers. I raised my hand and asked the auctioneer whether the seller would accept an in-game item trade. The room laughed. The auctioneer looked confused. Then the old phone inside the glass case lit up. A trade window appeared by itself. My phone showed the same window. Offer legacy asset. The room stopped laughing. I selected slightly larger crown. Daichi grabbed my wrist. He asked if I was really going to trade a useless hat for the mysterious key. I told him I wanted to see what happened. The system rejected it. Trade value insufficient. I tried 1 royal chicken. Rejected. 10 royal chickens. Rejected. A dragon accountant. Rejected. Kazuma shouted that I was wasting time. The auctioneer tried to resume bidding. Then I selected the golden potato king. The room's main display flashed bright gold. Legacy equivalents accepted. Trade authorized. I almost fell out of my chair. The golden potato king had been a stupid event decoration shaped like a fat potato wearing a crown. I had earned it because I ranked first in the infinite moon potato harvest for 11 straight months. Back then, my reward had been bragging rights and a potato with eyebrows. Now the system valued it above 10 million game coins. The seller accepted automatically. The glass case unlocked. Transaction complete. Kazuma stood frozen with his paddle still raised. I walked onto the stage and picked up the cracked phone. The Server 0 key was not physical. It was an item on the phone's account. My founder trade token transferred it into my inventory. The moment it arrived, Kingdom Tapper Legends made a sound I had never heard before. Not trumpets, not coins. A deep bell rang once. Then my screen changed. Hidden quest complete. Crown tier archive unlocked. I expected secrets. Maybe developer messages. Maybe the explanation for why Gamecoin had become legal currency. Instead, the first page said, "Congratulations, Supreme Barn Manager." Daichi laughed for 40 seconds. I nearly threw the phone into the ballroom fountain. But beneath the embarrassing title was a new menu, Legacy Services. It contained game features that had been disabled years before the shutdown. Instant build tickets, royal delivery, merchant summon, festival mode, emergency barn expansion, pet accessory exchange, and at the bottom, locked behind a flashing border, Server 0 access. Required condition: own 1 active Kingdom Hub. I did not know what a Kingdom Hub was. My phone helpfully explained. A Kingdom Hub was any real-world property with housing, food service, storage, and transportation access under 1 crown tier owner. I thought about the Imperial Sky Residence. Housing, yes. Restaurants, yes. Underground storage, Yes. Helicopter access? Unfortunately, yes. The building qualified. My penthouse was now a kingdom hub. That sentence would have destroyed Professor Sakata. I pressed activate. The app asked me to choose a name. Daiichi suggested Potato Capital. I refused. He suggested Rhinopolis. I refused harder. I typed Sky Crowned Hub because it sounded normal enough to survive a newspaper headline. The building management system immediately updated. Every tenant received a notification saying their residence was now part of Sky Crowned Hub. I received 118 angry messages asking what that meant. I had no idea. Then the benefits appeared. Residents could pay certain building services with GameCoin at a 50% reduction. Restaurant employees received automatic transit credits. Deliveries to the building could use Royal Delivery Lanes. And I, as hub owner, received one instant bill ticket every week. I opened the ticket description, redeemed to complete one approved construction or renovation project within 24 hours, subject to safety regulations and local permits. That sounded impossible, so naturally I tested it immediately. The seaside district I had bought beside Kazuma's resort contained an empty shop where Daiichi wanted to create crown noodles. Normally, renovating it would take weeks. I selected the property, chose a simple noodle restaurant template, submitted the local business permit through the integrated system, and used the ticket. A contractor network responded in under 30 seconds. At 11 o'clock that night, 3 trucks arrived at the seaside district. By the following afternoon, the abandoned shop had become a complete noodle restaurant with kitchen equipment, tables, signs, and a giant crown-shaped bowl over the entrance that Daiichi had added without telling me. The system had not used magic. It had used money, automated contracts, and construction crews operating with the terrifying efficiency of people who knew they would be paid instantly. That was somehow more impressive. Daiichi became manager of Crown Noodles for exactly 1 hour. Then he remembered he was a university student with classes and resigned. So he hired a real manager and gave Daiichi the honorary title Supreme Noodle Consultant. He printed it on a business card. Kazuma found out the next morning. His luxury resort had not even finished ownership onboarding, and a cheap noodle restaurant outside his entrance already had a line of tourists taking photos. The menu accepted GameCoin. Basic ramen cost 8 GameCoins. A deluxe bowl cost 12. Anyone staying at Kazuma's resort received 1 free egg. Daiichi called this psychological warfare. I called it an egg promotion. Kazuma called me at 7:30 in the morning and accused me of trying to humiliate him. I told him the egg promotion was automatic. He did not believe me. I did not blame him. The internet loved it. Someone created a live camera showing the line at Crown Noodles and the entrance of Kazuma's resort in the same frame. People started placing bets on which would have more customers. For 3 hours, the noodle shop won. Kazuma responded by announcing that guests at his resort would receive free luxury breakfasts. Crown Noodles responded by adding unlimited green onions. Kazuma added free spa access. Daiichi added a second egg. Kazuma added limousine pickup. Daiichi added a third egg. I stopped the war before we financially defeated a hotel with poultry. Meanwhile, my private jet was waiting at an airport outside the city. The auction company called to arrange transfer paperwork. I went there with Daiichi and Ms. Kuroda, who had now been assigned as my permanent bank liaison. She claimed it was because of my account complexity. I suspected the bank simply wanted an adult nearby whenever I opened the app. The jet was small compared to celebrity aircraft, but to me it looked enormous. 6 cream-colored seats, a tiny kitchen area, a table, storage compartments, actual windows that belonged to me. I walked through it twice because my brain refused to accept ownership. The representative handed me a folder of documents and asked what I planned to name the aircraft. I had not known private aircraft needed names. Daiichi suggested Moon Potato 1. I said no. Ms. Kuroda suggested something professional. I thought about it. Then the GameCoin app displayed a quest. Name 1 registered royal vehicle. Reward: custom exterior skin voucher. I should have ignored the quest. Instead, I named the jet breakfast money because 24 hours earlier I had not known whether I could afford breakfast. The registration officer stared at me. Daiichi applauded. Ms. Kuroda closed her eyes. Breakfast money became official. Then I redeemed the exterior voucher. The customization system offered tasteful options like silver stripe, black stripe, blue stripe, and classic white. Daiichi found an additional legacy skin called Golden Chicken Fleet. I told him not to select it. He backed away from the tablet. I relaxed. Then the airport representative accidentally bumped the screen. Golden Chicken Fleet selected. The system confirmed before anyone could cancel. A rendering appeared. My private jet would be painted white and gold with a tiny crown chicken near the tail. I stared at Daiichi. He swore it was not him. For once he was innocent. I accepted my fate. The jet needed a license crew, so I hired a pilot named Captain Mori and a co-pilot named Reina Shibata. Both had years of charter experience, and both looked professionally determined not to ask why their new employer was a teenager whose aircraft was named Breakfast Money. Captain Mori asked where I wanted to fly first. I had no answer. I had bought a private jet before deciding whether I wanted to go anywhere. Then Ms. Kuroda reminded me that the old Pixel Forge mobile office was in Osaka. The server 0 key had come from there. I suddenly had a destination. We filed a flight plan for the next morning. That evening, I finally opened Server 0 access. The menu was almost empty. There was no world-changing explanation, no secret developer video, only a black screen and a single line of text. Legacy synchronization 72%. Next feature migration in 14 hours. I checked the time. The migration would happen almost exactly when we landed in Osaka. Under the timer was a list of features waiting to migrate. Guilds, player shops, mount racing, treasure maps, royal duels. I stared at the final item. Daichi stared too. He asked what royal duels were. I remembered. In the old game, players could challenge each other to absurd competitions for tiny rewards. Chicken races, castle decoration votes, speed farming, coin flip tournaments. Nothing dangerous. I told him it was probably harmless. At that exact moment, Kazuma posted a video announcing that he would defeat me publicly at whatever game coin feature launched next. Daichi slowly turned his phone toward me. I sighed. Of course he would. I had 8 billion game coins, a private jet named Breakfast Money, a noodle shop fighting a luxury resort with free eggs, and a mysterious server key that apparently controlled features leaking out of my childhood game. And somehow, my biggest problem was still a rich guy with too much free time. The next morning, I boarded my own private jet wearing a university hoodie and carrying a convenience store egg sandwich. There are moments when reality becomes so ridiculous that your brain stops trying to organize it. This was one of those moments. Captain Mori welcomed me aboard Breakfast Money without laughing, which proved he was worth whatever salary I was paying him. Reina handed me a safety briefing card. Daichi immediately took the seat by the window and started pressing buttons that were not connected to anything important. Ms. Kuroda opened 3 laptops and began working before the plane even moved. I sat down, buckled my seatbelt, and looked around. 2 days ago, I had taken the bus because a taxi felt irresponsible. Now I had 6 seats and only 4 people. The empty seats bothered me. It felt wasteful. So before takeoff, I checked the university student forum and found 2 classmates who needed to travel to Osaka for a robotics competition that afternoon. Their train had been cancelled because of a game coin payment system glitch. I invited them. They thought it was a joke. 20 minutes later, they were sitting behind me in stunned silence with their robot packed into the luggage compartment. One of them, Emmy, kept asking whether this was really my plane. I told her technically the bank had verified the documents. That did not help. When we took off, Kingdom Tapper Legends rewarded me for transporting guildless players. I did not even have a guild yet. The game gave me 300 game coins. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my sandwich. 300. My balance was still above 8 billion. The game was tipping me pocket change for using a private jet. That was the kind of economic logic I had come to expect. We landed in Osaka just before noon. Breakfast Money had not received its golden chicken paint job yet, so from the outside it still looked respectable. I enjoyed the final moments of anonymity. Then the migration timer reached 0. Every phone in the airport chimed at once. Not just ours. Every phone. People stopped walking. Departure screens flickered. Digital billboards turned gold for 3 seconds. Then a global notification appeared. Legacy synchronization complete. Guilds, player shops, mount registration, treasure maps, and royal duels were now active. The airport erupted. People started shouting to friends about guild invitations. Old game items appeared in marketplace listings. A man near baggage claim discovered that his common wooden shield could be exchanged for a home improvement voucher and began celebrating like he had won the lottery. Then my phone received a private message. Server 0 holder bonus activated. First access privileges granted for 10 minutes. I had 10 minutes before everyone else could use the new systems fully. Daichi looked at me. Ms. Kuroda looked at me. I opened guild creation. A founder could establish 1 guild for 10,000 game coins. The name field waited. I considered something impressive. Sky Crown Alliance. Golden Kingdom. Royal Capital. Then I remembered the morning this insanity began. I typed Broke Breakfast Club. Daichi approved immediately. Ms. Kuroda asked whether I understood that this could become a legal financial entity. I did. I kept the name. The game asked for a guild emblem. I selected a rice ball. Broke Breakfast Club was born. I invited Daichi, Ms. Kuroda, Emmy, her robotics teammate Hiro, Professor Sakata, and my landlord, Mrs. Tanaka. Professor Sakata declined within 6 seconds. Mrs. Tanaka accepted without asking what a guild was. Then I discovered what guilds actually did. Members could contribute game coins to shared projects. They could receive group discounts. They could combine certain legacy items, and if 10 or more members completed the same daily quest, the guild unlocked a cooperative reward. That sounded useful, so I invited students from the rent program, then staff from the Imperial Sky residence, then employees at Crown Noodles. Within 10 minutes, we had 418 members. The first access period ended. Public guild creation opened. Kazuma created one immediately. He named it Golden Lion Dynasty. Of course he did. His emblem was his own face. Of course it was. He sent me a royal duel request before I had even left the airport. The duel interface selected a competition category at random. I accepted because I wanted to know how the system worked. The wheel spun, castle design, coin flip, cooking, trivia, mount racing. It stopped on mount racing. Daiichi slowly smiled. I remembered the royal mount voucher sitting in my inventory. Kazuma had apparently remembered too because his public channel went live within minutes. He announced that the duel would happen at an official riding track outside Osaka at 4 o'clock that afternoon. He had already purchased a champion racehorse using 900,000 game coins. I had never ridden a horse in my life. This seemed like a disadvantage, but the duel rules were strange. The registered player did not have to ride. The winner was determined by the performance of the registered mount and assigned rider over a short exhibition course. That meant I needed a horse and a professional rider. I redeemed my voucher. A list of premium horses appeared. Elegant names filled the screen. Silver Tempest, Royal Comet, Midnight Arrow, Autumn Emperor. Then one horse at the bottom had a massive discount because nobody wanted it. Name, Coupon. Age, 7. Color, brown. Personality, extremely food motivated. Former job, children's riding school. Special trait, bonus speed after consuming approved carrot item. I stared at the special trait. This was clearly game logic leaking into the real system. I selected Coupon. The stable called to confirm. They sounded relieved. Apparently Coupon was a perfectly healthy horse but had developed a habit of stopping mid-course whenever he saw orange objects. Daiichi asked why I had chosen the defective horse when the voucher covered any horse on the list. I showed him my inventory. I had 14,000 royal chickens, 800 crystal wheat farms, 32,000 sacks of moon fertilizer, and 6,412 enchanted carrots from a farming event I barely remembered. The enchanted carrots now converted into registered horse performance snack vouchers. I had accidentally prepared for this duel 7 years ago. At the riding track, thousands of people had gathered because Kazuma had promoted the event as the first official GameCoin Royal Duel. There were food stalls, cameras, commentators, and a giant digital scoreboard. Kazuma's horse looked incredible. Tall, powerful, polished like a luxury car. Coupon looked like he wanted to eat the decorative flowers beside the starting gate. Kazuma laughed when he saw him. I did not care. I hired a professional rider named Ayan Fujimoto who took one look at Coupon's records and asked why I hated winning. Then I showed her the approved carrot voucher. The game interface allowed one consumable item per race. She stopped laughing. The duel started. Kazuma's horse exploded forward. Coupon trotted calmly, as if we were on a school picnic. The crowd started chanting Kazuma's name. I used the carrot voucher. A stable assistant held one ordinary-looking carrot near the final turn. Coupon saw it. Something changed behind his eyes. That horse discovered ambition. He accelerated like he had received a message from the future. Ayan barely had time to react. Coupon tore around the course, passed Kazuma's champion horse in the final stretch, crossed the line first, and continued running directly toward the assistant holding the carrot. The crowd lost its mind. The commentator screamed that a children's riding school horse named Coupon had just won the first royal duel in the country. I earned a duel reward, 5,000 game coins. More importantly, Broke Breakfast Club gained a guild victory bonus. Every member received a free breakfast voucher. That outcome felt perfect. Kazuma did not agree. He demanded a rematch. The system said royal duels had a 24-hour cooldown. He looked personally betrayed by software. I gave Coupon the carrot. He had earned it. After the race, I checked the player shop system. It was chaos. Millions of old items were being listed. Most people had no idea what anything was worth. Common chickens sold for 20 game coins. Rare decorations sold for thousands. Old seasonal items were being treated like collectibles. But because I had server 0 access, I could see one extra piece of information beside each item. Real-world conversion category. That changed everything. A common lumber bundle needle could convert into a 5,000 GameCoin hardware store credit. People were listing them for 300. A winter furnace token could convert into a home heating equipment voucher worth up to 40,000. People were listing them for 1,200. A tiny in-game fishing pier could convert into 1 month of marina storage. Nobody wanted it. I realized the entire marketplace was mispricing items because everyone was looking at old rarity instead of new utility. This was the first time my economics class became useful. I called Professor Sakata. He answered by saying he was still not joining my breakfast guild. I told him I needed help analyzing a new market where legacy digital items had unknown real-world redemption values. There was a long pause. He asked me to send screenshots. 5 minutes later, he called back sounding more alive than I had ever heard him in class. He started explaining price discovery, information advantage, liquidity, and arbitrage. I understood about 70%. The other 30% sounded like he was trying to romance a spreadsheet. We agreed on one important rule: do not buy everything. If I swept the entire market, prices would explode and everyone would know the server 0 holder had special information. So instead, Broke Breakfast Club created a buying team. We purchased useful, undervalued items in small amounts. Then we redeemed some directly into benefits for members. Hardware credits repaired Mrs. Tanaka's apartment building. Heating vouchers went to an elderly housing charity. Kitchen upgrade tokens improved Crown Noodles. A warehouse expansion item added storage space to the seaside district. Within hours, people noticed certain forgotten items suddenly had value. Prices adjusted. The marketplace became more efficient. Professor Sakata finally accepted my guild invitation. His guild title automatically became Royal Economics Advisor. He hated it. I loved it. Then the treasure map system activated. Most players received small maps tied to local promotional events. Follow 3 clues, visit a shop, earn 100 game coins. Simple. My server 0 key generated something different. A black map appeared with 1 golden marker. It pointed to a storage facility 12 kilometers away. Reward: Developer Legacy Chest. Required party size: 4 guild members. Daichi immediately volunteered. Emmy volunteered because her robotics competition had finished. Professor Sakata volunteered after pretending he had no interest. The 4 of us took a van to the storage facility. I considered using the helicopter. Ms. Kuroda threatened to confiscate my merchant app for an hour. We took the van. The map led to Unit 404. That number did not make me feel better. The facility manager had received automatic authorization in the system. He handed me a key and told us the unit had been rented under Pixel Forge Mobile's name for nearly a decade. We opened the door. Inside were cardboard boxes, hundreds of them, old posters, promotional plush chickens, unused office chairs, server racks, t-shirts, a life-sized Golden Potato King mascot costume that made Daichi scream when his flashlight hit it. At the back sat 1 black chest with a crown symbol. I opened it. Inside was not treasure. It was company merchandise and 1 sealed envelope. The envelope had my game username written on it. I stopped breathing for a second. My username had been Potato Roan in 77. I had chosen it at 13. I regretted it at 19. But there it was, handwritten on an envelope that had apparently been sitting in storage for years. Professor Sakata immediately became serious. Daichi stopped joking. I opened it. Inside was a single card. Congratulations on reaching impossible balance threshold. If you are reading this, the economy test worked. Below that was a printed code, and below the code was 1 final sentence. Please do not spend the emergency reserve on decorative fountains again. I stared at it. Daichi stared at me. Professor Sakata stared at me. Emmy asked the obvious question. Again? I had no memory of ever spending an emergency reserve on decorative fountains. Then the old server rack behind us powered on by itself. A monitor flickered. The Kingdom Tapper Legends crown appeared, and a countdown started. 48 hours until Festival Mode. Festival Mode was the feature that had ruined my life when I was 13. I say ruined with affection. The original Kingdom Tapper Legends Festival happened once every few months. For 24 hours, every system in the game became stupid. Farms produced 10 times more crops. Chickens wore party hats. Buildings could be upgraded for ridiculous discounts. Random treasure carts appeared on the map. And every player competed to earn festival stars by completing tasks. That was where the real problem began. During the Infinite Moon potato harvest, Festival Mode had stacked with the broken offline multiplier. 13-year-old me discovered that if I activated a harvest boost, closed the app, changed my phone clock, reopened the app, watched an advertisement, switched languages, and sacrificed 1 decorative scarecrow, the potato farm paid out far more than intended. It was an absurd ritual. I performed it thousands of times. I had not cheated in the sophisticated sense. I had simply attacked the game's poor programming with the determination of a raccoon opening a trash can. That was why my balance reached billions. Now the old server said festival mode would activate in 48 hours. Professor Sakata read the developer card again. He was less interested in the joke about decorative fountains than in the words economy test. He thought Kingdom Tapper Legends might have been used to simulate some kind of experimental economic model. I told him the game had a chicken wearing a wizard hat. He said those facts were not mutually exclusive. That was the most professor sentence I had ever heard. We searched the storage unit for more information. Most boxes contained junk. Daichi found 200 rubber crowns. Amy found a prototype controller shaped like a potato. Professor Sakata found accounting records from Pixelforge Mobile. I found a vending machine that accepted old game coin cards. It still had drinks inside. I did not touch them. I had become wealthy, not suicidal. Finally, behind the server rack, we found a whiteboard covered in faded notes. Most were normal game development reminders. Fixed chicken collision, reduced dragon accountant bonus. Do not let Kenji name events. But one note stood out. Festival stress test target, 1 billion circulating coins. I had 8 times that amount personally. Professor Sakata took a photo. Then the server displayed a second message. Festival host account detected. Host privileges transferred to Potato Roan and 77. I wanted to disappear. Daichi immediately changed my contact name in his phone to Potato Roan and 77. I threatened to remove his guild breakfast voucher. He changed it back. Festival host privileges sounded powerful, but when I opened the menu, they were mostly ridiculous. Choose official festival mascot. Choose opening music. Select bonus food category. Select one city for grand market status. Authorize public guild challenges. Approve decorative fountain budget. That last option was already toggled on. I turned it off so hard I nearly cracked the screen. The city selection was more important. One city would receive boosted game coin merchant rates for 24 hours. That meant more discounts, more customer traffic, more quests, and probably complete chaos. The system had automatically selected Tokyo because my account address was registered there, but we were standing in Osaka. I could choose any city with a registered kingdom hub. At the moment, I only had Sky Crown Hub in Tokyo. Then I remembered the Seaside District. It had food service, storage, road access, and an empty apartment above one of the shops. We upgraded the apartment into registered housing and created a second tiny hub. It qualified. I named it Crown Noodle District. Daichi cried tears of joy. That gave me 2 candidate areas, but I did not want to dump a massive festival into one neighborhood without warning. So we called both local governments, the Game Coin Task Force, the police, transportation offices, and merchant associations. This was the least exciting hour of my billionaire life, but it prevented people from driving scooters through ramen lines later. The officials were surprisingly cooperative. Everyone had spent the last 2 days learning that resisting game coin systems was like arguing with gravity. We decided to use central Osaka as grand market status because the city already had large commercial districts, event infrastructure, and thousands of tourists who had arrived for the first royal duel. The local government asked who would pay for extra staffing, transport, cleanup, and safety measures. The festival menu displayed a host budget, required 6 million game coins. I paid it. Then I noticed my crown tier rebate. Kingdom event infrastructure, 90% reduction. Actual cost, 600,000. Miss Kuroda saw the receipt and said my discount privileges should be illegal. The legal advisor on speakerphone informed her they were currently not illegal. She looked disappointed. Over the next 2 days, the country prepared for festival mode like a strange national holiday. Businesses registered game coin promotions. Guilds organized teams. Hotels filled up. Kazuma announced that Golden Lion Dynasty would dominate the rankings. Broke Breakfast Club grew to 12,000 members because the name sounded friendly and our guild benefit still included occasional breakfast vouchers. I had not intended to create a movement. I had created a breakfast club. The public had other ideas. Students joined. Restaurant workers joined. Retired players joined. Parents whose children had abandoned old accounts joined. A group of firefighters joined because one of them owned a rare water dragon fountain item that converted into commercial sprinkler system credits. Professor Sakata created a guild spreadsheet with 17 tabs. He had become more obsessed than I had ever been with moon potatoes. Meanwhile, my jet received its new paint. When breakfast money rolled out of the hangar, I felt physical pain. The body was glossy white with a thin gold stripe. That part was fine. Near the tail was a crowned chicken. That part was not fine. The chicken was supposed to be tiny. Due to a conversion error in the customization template, it was 6 meters tall. Its smiling face covered half the tail. Captain Mori walked walked around the aircraft in silence. Reina took one photograph, turned away, and laughed into her sleeve. Daichi fell onto the ground. I contacted the paint company. They offered to fix it for free. Then a crowd of airport visitors began taking photos. Within an hour, Golden Chicken Jet was trending online. A travel company offered me 200,000 game coins to leave it exactly as it was for a promotional partnership. I accepted. I had learned an important lesson. Embarrassment becomes branding if enough people photograph it. Festival morning arrived. At 8 o'clock, the Kingdom Tapper Legends music played from public screens across Osaka. I had tried to select normal instrumental music. Daichi had found the old festival theme and changed the vote through our guild poll. I no longer knew why I trusted him with technology. Golden crowns appeared on participating store signs. Digital maps lit up with quests. People cheered. Then festival mode began. The first hour was madness. A bakery sold dragon buns for 3 game coins and received 2,000 customers. A clothing store offered an achievement for buying 5 pairs of socks, causing a sock shortage. Taxi drivers received bonus coins for transporting guild members from different teams in the same car, so strangers started sharing rides and awkwardly comparing old chicken collections. A department store unlocked a treasure cart on its roof. People raced up 12 floors only to discover the treasure was discount hand towels. They still celebrated. Festival stars accumulated through tasks, not spending. That was important because it meant my billions did not guarantee victory. Golden Lion Dynasty took an early lead by completing luxury challenges. Ride in 5 premium vehicles. Purchase formal wear. Visit 3 hotel restaurants. Kazuma was built for those quests. Broke Breakfast Club received different ones. Share a meal with 3 guild members. Use public transportation. Help a new player complete a trade. Donate an unused item. Take a photo with the festival mascot. Our numbers exploded. By noon, we passed Kazuma. He responded by recruiting celebrities. We responded by recruiting grandmothers. Grandmothers were unstoppable. One retired woman named Mrs. Ueda had played Kingdom Tapper Legends every day for 9 years because she liked decorating the castle gardens. She knew the old item system better than I did. Her account had 900,000 game coins and more than 40,000 decorative flowers. During festival mode, flower items converted into public garden improvement credits. She redeemed so many that 3 city parks received landscaping upgrades. Broke Breakfast Club earned 80,000 festival stars. Kazuma posted a video accusing us of weaponizing grandmothers. Mrs. Ueda replied that he needed better strategy. Her post received 3 million likes. At 1 o'clock, the festival triggered the first public guild challenge. A giant screen in the central plaza displayed the task. Build the longest legal banquet table and serve 1 complete meal to 1,000 people. Time limit 3 hours. Golden Lion Dynasty immediately booked a luxury catering company. Broke Breakfast Club had crown noodles, several student clubs, a hotel kitchen, 2 food truck owners, 12 retired cafeteria workers, and 1 extremely motivated grandmother with flower vouchers. We split into teams. Professor Sakata handled logistics. Ms. Kuroda handled payments. Daichi somehow became table commander. I used a royal delivery privilege to prioritize ingredient shipments. Then I remembered my 800 crystal wheat farms. 1 farm item could convert into a bulk flour voucher. I redeemed 10. Suddenly, flour was not a problem. A royal chicken item converted into a poultry supplier credit. I redeemed 5. Daichi asked whether that meant I had killed my game chickens. I told him they were accounting units. He held a tiny funeral anyway. We built a banquet line through a pedestrianized street with city approval. Restaurants cooked noodles, rice bowls, curry, and dumplings. Students carried trays. Grandmothers organized portions with military precision. 1,000 meals were served with 27 minutes remaining. Golden Lion Dynasty finished 12 minutes later. We won. The reward was 300,000 festival stars and a mystery guild buff. The buff activated instantly. All Broke Breakfast Club members received double rewards for acts of hospitality. Our name became terrifyingly appropriate. People began buying strangers' breakfast just for points. Cafes ran out of eggs. Convenience stores ran out of rice balls. Crown Noodles had a line around the block even though it was in another city because tourists were taking the train there for bonus points. Kazuma Seaside Resort accidentally benefited from the traffic. His occupancy reached 100%. He called me to complain that my noodle shop had increased his hotel revenue. I told him congratulations. He hung up. At 4 o'clock, Festival Mode announced a surprise high-value quest. One treasure carriage had been hidden somewhere in Osaka. The first guild to find it would receive 1 million festival stars. Every guild opened the public clue. 3 bronze brothers watch water that never sleeps. Beneath the laughing lion, follow the road where no car drives. Thousands of people scattered. Daichi wanted to search randomly. Professor Sakata tried to analyze historical landmarks. I stared at the wording. It sounded familiar. Not because I knew Osaka well, because I had seen the clue before. It was recycled from the original game. 3 bronze brothers referred to 3 warrior statues. Water that never sleeps meant a canal. Laughing Lion was an old festival mascot sign. The road where no car drives meant a shopping arcade. I remembered solving it at 13 while lying in bed. I pulled up an old fan wiki archive. The original clue had pointed to a fictional district based on a real Osaka shopping area. We headed there. So did Kazuma. He had apparently hired a team of professional puzzle solvers. Both guilds reached the arcade at the same time. We ran through crowds following the last clue. I was not athletic. Kazuma was wearing designer shoes, not designed for sprinting. Daichi passed both of us while eating a festival bun. At the end of the arcade, we found the Laughing Lion sign. Under it was a golden arrow pointing downward. We looked at the ground. Nothing. Kazuma's team searched nearby stores. Professor Sakata looked at drainage maps. Then Mrs. Ueda, who had followed us at her own pace, tapped the lion sign with her cane. The mouth opened. A paper ticket rolled out. She had remembered that the old game mascot dispensed clues when players tapped its face. The ticket contained an address. Everyone ran again. Mrs. Ueda took a taxi. She arrived first. The treasure carriage was parked inside a convention hall. Broke Breakfast Club won the million stars because our 72-year-old member understood event mechanics better than an entire professional puzzle team. Kazuma looked devastated. Mrs. Ueda offered him a candy. He accepted. For about 5 minutes, I thought Festival Mode might end peacefully. Then the sky over the city filled with digital golden fireworks visible through every game coin-enabled screen. Final Festival quest unlocked. The giant plaza display changed. Host account challenge. Potato Ronin 77 must spend the emergency reserve before midnight. Reward. Unlock World Shop. Failure penalty, decorative fountain protocol. I stared at the screen. Daichi slowly began laughing. I did not. The emergency reserve amount appeared. 500 million game coins. I had 7 hours to spend 500 million coins, and if I failed, the game was apparently going to do something involving fountains. I opened the emergency reserve challenge and immediately discovered why it was actually difficult. The 500 million game coins were not a bonus sitting beside my normal balance. They were already part of my account, locked years ago under a hidden festival reserve tag. Apparently 13-year-old me had crossed some impossible event threshold, and the game had quietly marked 500 million of my farmed coins for a future host event. Now those coins had to leave my account before midnight. I could not transfer them to friends. I could not donate them directly. I could not buy from my own businesses. I could not convert them to yen. I could only spend them on verified goods or services from independent merchants, and because crown tier discounts were automatic, every ridiculous rebate still applied. For the first time in history, being too privileged was making it hard to waste money. Daichi looked at the 500 million target and said this was the kind of problem he had always dreamed of having. Professor Sakata told him that sentence was economically offensive. We had 7 hours. I opened the luxury marketplace. The most expensive car listed in Osaka was 700,000 game coins. I bought it. Reserve remaining. 499,300,000. That moved the number so little I felt insulted. I bought another car, then another. Ms. Kuroda stopped me before I accidentally became a dealership. We searched for property. An office floor was listed for 12 million. Crown tier infrastructure discount reduced it to 1.2 million. I yelled at the discount notification. The phone remained cheerful. I tried a hotel for 30 million. 3 million after rebate. I tried a warehouse complex for 22 million. 2.2 million. I tried an island. The island seller did not accept Gamecoin. I offered to buy a ferry. The ferry company asked why. I had no answer. At 5:30, the reserve still had more than 480 million. The festival plaza had turned into a public strategy meeting. People gathered around giant screens watching my remaining total. Whenever I bought something, the number dropped and the crowd cheered. I had somehow created competitive spending as a spectator sport. Kazuma stood nearby with folded arms. He was still technically my rival, but even he did not want to see decorative fountain protocol. Nobody knew what it was. That made it terrifying. He suggested art because crown tier discounts did not apply. It was the best idea he had given me all week. We contacted the auction house. They had about 70 million game coins worth of verified art inventory available for immediate sale. I bought bought all of it. Not one painting, all of it. The horse in the convenience store became mine. So did 12 abstract sculptures, 6 landscapes, a bronze fish, and a painting that looked like someone had dropped blue noodles onto a white floor. Reserve remaining, 411 million. The crowd cheered. I asked where the art should be delivered. Daichi suggested the student dorms. I imagined a bronze fish in Moon Potato Village and approved. At 6 o'clock, I bought naming rights to a small indoor arena for 3 years. 25 million. The company asked what I wanted to call it. I said I would decide later. Daichi submitted Breakfast Dome before I could stop him. I removed his admin privileges from the guild. At 6:30, I bought 40 million game coins worth of computer equipment from a major electronics distributor and assigned the shipment to schools, university labs, and community centers that had registered wish lists. That counted because I was purchasing physical goods, not donating currency. Reserve remaining, 346 million. At 7 o'clock, I bought an entire year's advertising inventory on a chain of train station screens. 30 million. The ad company asked for campaign materials. I did not have any. Mrs. Ueda sent them a picture of Coupon eating a carrot. By 7:20, giant screens across the region displayed my brown horse beneath the words "Eat Breakfast." I had no involvement in that creative decision. I chose not to fight it. Reserve remaining, 316 million. Time kept moving. The easy purchases were gone. Most merchants simply did not have enough GameCoin priced inventory. Even luxury businesses had designed their promotions for people holding thousands or maybe millions, not a lunatic trying to burn $500 million before bedtime. Then Emmy had an idea. Her robotics team had spent years begging companies for equipment. Universities, schools, makerspaces, and technical clubs always needed machines, parts, software licenses, sensors, workshop tools, and lab gear. Those were all products. We created a public purchasing portal. Verified schools and non-profit labs submitted existing supplier quotes. My team checked them. I paid the merchants directly in GameCoin. The reserve started falling. Laser cutters, industrial printers, robotics kits, computers, microscopes, workshop benches, safety equipment. A telescope so large I briefly considered using it to check whether my common sense had left Earth. By 8:30, we had spent another 110 million. Reserve remaining, 206 million. The plaza crowd cheered louder. The spending stream had become a national broadcast. Commentators analyzed my purchase rate like a sporting event. One finance channel displayed a graph called Rin's Race Against the Fountain. I wanted to sue them for the title. I did not have time. At 9 o'clock, a restaurant association contacted us. Hundreds of small restaurants had joined GameCoin but struggled with the sudden demand. Many wanted new refrigerators, ovens, dishwashers, and ordering systems. We bought verified equipment packages, 40 million. Reserve remaining, 166 million. At 9:45, we purchased prepaid public transport passes from participating operators and assigned them as Festival Quest rewards. 31 million. Reserve remaining, 135 million. At 10:15, I bought a small historic theater that had been listed for sale. The Crown Tier discount tried to activate. I nearly cried. Instead of 60 million, I paid 6. The theater manager was thrilled. I was furious that I had saved money. Rich person problems were disgusting. At 10:40, we still had 121 million left. Then a merchant listing appeared from a commercial catering company, Festival Meal Futures. The company had created a GameCoin product allowing buyers to pre-purchase meal vouchers redeemable over the next year. Businesses could buy them for employees. Event organizers could use them for guests. The company had 150 million GameCoins of capacity. I stared at the listing. Professor Sakata stared at it. Ms. Kuroda checked the legal terms. It was a real service purchase. No Crown Tier rebate. I could buy 121 million worth of meal vouchers. The question was what to do with them afterward. Then I looked at the name of my guild, Broke Breakfast Club. Sometimes the universe is not subtle. I purchased 121 million game coins of meal credits. The reserve hit 0 at 11:07 p.m. The plaza exploded in cheers. Digital fireworks covered the screens. I nearly collapsed from relief. Then the system asked me to choose the distribution rule for the meal vouchers. I selected registered students, low-income workers, and guild hospitality events through participating institutions. The vouchers would roll out over the year instead of appearing all at once. Professor Sakata approved. Ms. Kuroda approved. Mrs. Ueda said I should reserve some for people who simply forgot their wallet. We added that too. The challenge completed. Reward unlocked. World Shop. The crowd began chanting my embarrassing old username, PotatoRonin77, PotatoRonin77. I covered my face. Kazuma patted my shoulder and told me I would never escape it. I told him his guild emblem was his own face. He stopped talking. Festival mode ended at midnight. All the gold overlays disappeared. Shop discounts returned to normal game coin pricing. The city exhaled. I had spent 500 million coins in 7 hours and somehow ended the night owning extra cars, a pile of art, breakfast dome, a historic theater, and enough prepaid meals to turn my guild name into an actual program. Most importantly, no decorative fountain protocol had activated. I thought we were safe. Then my phone chimed. Host completion bonus. Decorative fountain protocol awarded voluntarily. I screamed. A new item appeared in my inventory. Grand Royal Fountain ticket. Redeemed to construct one absurdly unnecessary public fountain at no cost. Daichi laughed until he had to sit down. I locked the item and swore never to use it. The universe heard that promise and began preparing to embarrass me later. The next morning, we flew back to Tokyo. Breakfast Money's giant chicken tail was now recognizable enough that people at the airport waved as we taxied. Captain Mori informed me that air traffic staff had started calling our aircraft Chicken 1 over the radio. I asked whether we could stop them. He said not realistically. I accepted defeat. During the flight, I finally opened the World Shop. The interface was very different from the player marketplace. There were only 12 listings. Each came from a different country. A castle hotel in Germany, a vineyard estate in France, a ranch in Australia, a luxury train journey in South Africa, a private tropical island resort lease, a historic mansion in England, a huge movie studio tour package in the United States. Most prices were in the low millions of game coins. Then I saw one listing that made Daichi choke on orange juice. Commercial orbital experience reservation. Price 300 million game coins. I stared at it. The listing offered training and a future seat on a private commercial space flight, subject to medical approval and launch availability. Daichi told me to buy it. Ms. Kuroda told me not to buy it. Professor Sakata, joining by video call, said he refused to participate in this discussion. I did not buy it. I had become more responsible. Then I added it to favorites. Responsibility has limits. The World Shop also showed international game coin exchange rankings. That was where I discovered my balance was not the largest in the world. I was number 2. For the first time, the legacy ranking had processed accounts above the old display limit. My name finally appeared. PotatoRonin77, 7,963,421,800 game coins. Number 2 globally. The number 1 account had 12,004,880,050. Username Sleepy Empress. No profile picture. No public guild. No transaction history. No country listed. Daichi stared at the screen. I felt something I had not expected. Relief. Somebody else was richer. Maybe everyone would bother them instead. Then I received a friend request from Sleepy Empress. I accepted. A message appeared immediately. Finally, another idiot who farmed the potato event. I laughed so hard Captain Mori asked if everything was okay. Sleepy Empress sent another message. She said she had been waiting to see whether another over-limit account would appear. I asked how she had accumulated 12 billion. Her answer was humiliatingly simple. She had left the game installed on a tablet in a closed internet cafe that continued running for years. The tablet had been plugged into the wall. The cafe owner never cleared the device. Her farm had earned offline coins for almost a decade. I had sacrificed sleep, abused event loops, and optimized potato cycles. She had forgotten a tablet. Life was unfair even when both people had billions. Her real name was Hana Mireille. 24 years old, living in Singapore. She was not a billionaire before GameCoin. She worked as a freelance illustrator. Her first purchase after discovering the balance had been a new drawing tablet. Her second had been lunch. I respected her immediately. Then she sent me a warning. World Shop was not the final migration. Her account had unlocked a different hidden archive because her old kingdom specialized in maritime trade. She could see an upcoming system I could not. Global guild routes. Activation in 5 days. Guilds would be able to establish international trade routes and compete for route bonuses. That sounded complicated, but not dangerous. Then Hana sent a screenshot. The preview showed Broke Breakfast Club and Golden Lion Dynasty already listed as eligible guilds. Alongside them were dozens of foreign guilds. Some had hundreds of thousands of members. One had 3 million. And at the top was Hana's newly created guild. She had named it Nap Time Empire. Its emblem was a pillow. I realized I had finally met someone operating at the same level of seriousness as me. Then another notification appeared. Sleepy Empress has challenged Potato Roan in 77 to a friendly royal duel. The category wheel spun automatically. Cooking, trivia, mount racing, coin flip, aircraft race. It stopped on aircraft race. I looked toward the cockpit of Breakfast Money. Daichi slowly turned to me. Ms. Kuroda closed her laptop. I asked the app what an aircraft race meant. The rules appeared. Pilots would fly registered aircraft along approved civilian routes, while players completed travel quests at designated destinations. Speed was only one factor. Safety, efficiency, quest completion, passenger satisfaction, and fuel management all awarded points. The starting point was Tokyo. The finish line was Singapore. The race would happen in 5 days, the same day global guild routes activated. Hana sent one final message. Hope your giant chicken can fly. I looked out the window at the ridiculous golden bird painted on my tail. For the first time, Breakfast Money had an actual mission. The next 5 days became the strangest race preparation in aviation history. Captain Mori treated the challenge seriously. He studied approved routes, weather patterns, fuel stops, airport slots, and the game coin scoring rules. I studied the passenger satisfaction menu. This tells you everything about our qualifications. The duel awarded points in 5 categories: safe flight operations, fuel efficiency, travel quest completion, passenger happiness, guild route discoveries. Speed mattered, but only a little. The designers had clearly built the system to stop billionaires from turning the sky into a dangerous racing game. I appreciated that. I had enough problems without becoming an international headline for attempting a mid-air shortcut. Captain Mori said we would fly normally and treat safety as absolute. I agreed. Then Daichi asked whether passenger happiness increased if we installed a karaoke machine. Captain Mori left the room. I think he needed a moment. Breakfast Money had 6 passenger seats. I was 1 passenger. Daichi was obviously coming because he would have hidden in the luggage compartment if I said no. Ms. Kuroda needed to accompany me for international banking and transaction issues. That left 3 seats. The game rewarded first-time travelers, cross-guild interaction, and 1 randomly selected hospitality bonus, so we held a small guild lottery. Mrs. Ueda won 1 seat. She had never flown internationally. When I called her, she asked whether she could bring homemade rice crackers. I said yes. Emmy won the 2nd seat and immediately asked whether she could bring a tiny inspection robot for the robotics club. I said yes as long as Captain Mori approved it. The last seat went to Professor Sakata. He refused. The system informed him that declining a randomly awarded travel quest would cost Broke Breakfast Club 500 festival legacy points. He accepted while complaining about coercive incentive design. Our passenger team was complete. Then Kazuma called. He wanted to join. I told him there were no seats. He offered to pay for a larger aircraft. I told him that would defeat the point of racing with Breakfast Money. He said Golden Lion Dynasty had unlocked a support mechanic allowing allied guilds to provide services without riding aboard. I became suspicious. Kazuma wanted something. He admitted it. His hotel guild had lost public attention after festival mode. If Golden Lion Dynasty supported the first international aircraft duel, it would gain route reputation. In exchange, he could provide ground transportation and hotel facilities at our stops. That was actually useful. I accepted. The internet reacted as if 2 rival kingdoms had signed a peace treaty. People made dramatic edits of Kazuma and me shaking hands in front of exploding castles. In reality, we had agreed by phone while I was brushing my teeth. Hana sent me a message saying she was disappointed I had formed an alliance before she could make fun of us separately. Then she revealed her aircraft. It was a sleek 8-seat jet named 5 More Minutes. The tail had a pillow wearing a crown. I stared at the photo. She had somehow created an aircraft more ridiculous than mine while still making it look stylish. I respected the competition. The duel began at Haneda Airport at 7 o'clock in the morning. Because it had become a public GameCoin event, a viewing area was set up behind glass inside the terminal. Hundreds of fans showed up wearing rice ball pins for Broke Breakfast Club, or pillow hats for Naptime Empire. I met Hana in person at the gate before departure. She was shorter than I expected, wearing a loose sweater, sneakers, and noise-canceling headphones around her neck. This woman controlled 12 billion game coins. She looked like she had been interrupted while buying groceries. She looked at me. Then she looked through the window at the giant chicken on my plane. She said I had committed to the theme more aggressively than expected. I told her it was a paint error. She did not believe me. We shook hands. The duel system activated. First destination, Fukuoka. Travel quest. Serve a locally purchased breakfast item to every passenger before departure for the next leg. Daiichi raised both fists in victory. Of course, our first aircraft race quest was breakfast. We took off. Breakfast money earned immediate passenger happiness points because Mrs. Ueda handed everyone rice crackers before the cabin crew could serve drinks. Apparently, homemade snacks counted as hospitality. Naptime Empire earned points because Hana's jet seats converted into beds. She messaged me a photograph of herself already sleeping. I had never hated efficiency more. We landed in Fukuoka within minutes of each other. The next leg could not begin until the breakfast quest was complete. Kazuma's support team had arranged cars, but the system required locally purchased food from an independent merchant. We raced into the terminal. Hana's team went toward a famous bakery. We found a small breakfast stall with almost no line. I bought 6 mentaiko rice sandwiches and 1 extra for Captain Mori after landing procedures. Quest complete. Then the stall owner's old GameCoin account triggered a cross-guild trade quest. He had 1 common harbor lantern decoration. Server 0 showed me the real-world conversion. Ferry ticket credit. I bought it for 200 game coins and gave him 1,000 because he had underpriced it. Cross-guild discovery bonus. Broke Breakfast Club took an early lead. Hana caught up before takeoff because she bought pastries for an entire airport service crew and triggered a hospitality multiplier. That woman understood the assignment. The second destination was Taipei. The quest required each guild to complete 1 verified international player shop transaction and deliver the purchased item physically to a registered guild member at the destination. That sounded complicated until Emmy found a listing. A university student in Taipei had posted an old robot workshop banner item for 500 game coins. Its real-world conversion was not valuable, but Emmy wanted the digital item for her robotics guild profile. We bought it. The seller worked at a university lab near the airport. The item transfer happened digitally, but the quest generated a physical delivery token, a tiny printed guild badge that had to be handed to the seller. Kazuma's support team arranged ground transport. We landed, cleared the event procedures, drove to the university, found the student, handed over the badge, took a required verification photo, and raced back. Professor Sakata spent the entire ride explaining that we were witnessing the birth of gamified cross-border commerce. Daiichi spent the entire ride trying to buy bubble tea before the timer expired. Both succeeded. Hana beat us back to the airport by 4 minutes. Her team had chosen a merchant inside the terminal. I messaged her that this was cheating. She replied that it was called reading the map. I had no response. After Taipei, the dual system unlocked a choice. We could fly directly to Singapore for moderate points, or choose 1 optional destination for a high-value quest. The options were Hong Kong, Manila, Bangkok, and Ho Chi Minh City. Captain Mori studied fuel and timing. Bangkok was too far for the advantage. Hong Kong had busy slots. Manila and Ho Chi Minh City were both possible. Then global guild routes activated. Every participating guild received a map covered in potential merchant connections. Broke Breakfast Club already had thousands of members scattered internationally because people had joined online after festival mode. To establish a route, we needed to connect 3 guild-supported businesses in different countries through verified GameCoin transactions. Crown Noodles counted as our Japan business. We needed 2 more. I checked our member directory. A Broke Breakfast Club member in Manila ran a small bakery. Another in Singapore managed a family cafe. That made the choice obvious. We selected Manila. Hana selected Bangkok. The duel split. Our Manila quest appeared. Purchase 1 locally made food item, 1 practical travel item, and 1 completely unnecessary souvenir. Deliver all 3 to a guild business owner. Daiichi said this was the greatest quest ever written. We landed in Manila and met the bakery owner, a woman named Liza who had joined Broke Breakfast Club because she liked the free breakfast idea. We had 40 minutes. The locally made food item was easy. We bought pastries from another nearby shop. The practical travel item was easy. Emmy bought a power adapter. The unnecessary souvenir became a philosophical debate. Professor Sakata argued that anything had potential utility. Daiichi found a 2-foot-tall plastic rooster wearing sunglasses. Nobody could identify a practical use. We bought it. Quest accepted immediately. We delivered everything to Liza. Then I helped her bakery register as a guild-supported merchant. She completed a GameCoin supply order from Crown Noodles distributor network. Route Node 1 established. Our guild map drew a gold line from Japan to the Philippines. The bakery received a small transaction fee discount. Crown Noodles received access to a new supplier marketplace. I received 2,000 root points. That was all. No empire, no magical trade domination. Just small, useful bonuses. I liked that. Then Daichi discovered that our root emblem automatically used the object from the completed travel quest. The Japan-Philippines Guild route was now represented by a plastic rooster wearing sunglasses. I stopped liking it. We took off for Singapore. The dual scoreboard showed Hannah ahead by 340 points. She had dominated fuel efficiency and had completed a high-value rest quest in Bangkok by arranging a 15-minute power nap for every passenger. Her guild was literally named Naptime Empire. We had walked into her specialty. I needed points before arrival. The onboard quest list offered small tasks: serve a regional snack, complete a study session, trade one legacy item between passengers, take a group photo, write a travel review. Then I saw one rare challenge: convert an unused vehicle item into a shared travel benefit. I opened my inventory. Buried between farming junk and decorative banners was an item called Royal Caravan. In the old game, it increased trade speed by 5%. Real-world conversion category: group ground transportation credit worth up to 80,000 game coins. I redeemed it and assigned the credit to our guild members in Singapore for airport transportation that day. Challenge complete. 500 points. We moved ahead. Hana messaged me immediately. She asked what I had used. I told her Royal Caravan. She replied with a sleeping face symbol. Then her score jumped by 700. She had redeemed something called Imperial Hammock Fleet for airport rest lounge access for her guild members. I did not even know that item existed. She had countered a caravan with hammocks. This rivalry was becoming impossible to explain to adults. We landed in Singapore 3 minutes before Hana, but landing time was not the finish. The final quest required both players to reach a designated public game coin merchant, complete one guild route connection, and buy a meal costing less than 20 game coins. Safety and normal arrival procedures still applied. Nobody could sprint off a plane the moment the wheels touched. By the time we cleared the event process, Hana had landed too. Her team took a van. Kazuma's Golden Lion support team had arranged ours. We headed toward the family cafe run by our guild member. Traffic was heavy. Hana's destination was a nap-themed dessert shop across the city. The scoreboard showed us almost tied, then our van stopped. A delivery truck blocked the narrow street near the cafe. Daichi groaned. We could see the cafe sign ahead. It was only 300 meters away. We got out and walked fast. Professor Sakata immediately regretted wearing dress shoes. Mrs. Ueda passed him. Again, at the cafe, the owner had already prepared the guild registration documents. We completed a verified ingredient purchase linked to Liza's Manila Bakery. The gold route line extended. Japan to Philippines to Singapore. Global guild route complete. Then we had to buy a meal under 20 game coins. The cheapest item was kaya toast for 6. I bought 6 servings. The system accepted the transaction. Duel complete. My phone flashed. Result calculating. Hana arrived at her destination 90 seconds later. Her score calculation began too. We waited. Thousands of people online waited. Daichi refreshed the screen until I took his phone away. Finally, the result appeared. Naptime Empire, 9,842 points. Broke Breakfast Club, 9,842 points. A tie. I stared at the number. Hana called me. She was laughing. The system announced the tiebreaker. One question. Both guild leaders would receive the same prompt. Closest answer won. The question appeared. How many total game coins did you spend on breakfast during the duel? I froze. I had bought rice sandwiches in Fukuoka, pastries in Manila, toast in Singapore. Had the airport coffee counted? Did Mrs. Ueda's crackers count as 0? Was the seller tip part of breakfast? Hana had similar problems. We had 30 seconds. Professor Sakata started calculating. Daichi shouted random numbers. Mrs. Ueda calmly asked to see my transaction history. She scrolled once and said 74. I entered 74. Time expired. Correct answer, 74. Broke Breakfast Club won by grandmother. Again. Hana's guess had been 81. She demanded to recruit Mrs. Ueda. Mrs. Ueda said she would consider it if Naptime Empire improved its breakfast benefits. The dual reward was not money. Broke Breakfast Club received first choice of 1 premium international route bonus. The options included reduced merchant transaction fees, travel discounts, logistics credits, and a mysterious category called Cultural Exchange Boost. I selected travel discounts because thousands of our members were students and workers who could actually use them. Professor Sakata approved. Daichi wanted Cultural Exchange because it sounded like a dating bonus. I ignored him. Then the World Shop sent me a notification. Aircraft dual milestone completed. New category unlocked. Fleet assets. I opened it. There were cargo aircraft shares, ferries, charter buses, train car rentals, and 1 one enormous luxury yacht. Daichi leaned over my shoulder. I locked my phone. I had learned my lesson. Then Hana walked into the cafe 20 minutes later, sat at our table, and showed me her screen. Her account had unlocked the same category. She pointed at the yacht. She asked if I wanted to split it. I said no. She lowered the price filter and found a retired cruise ship. I said absolutely not. She found a floating hotel platform shaped like a castle. I took the phone away from her. For the first time since GameCoin became real money, I understood what Ms. Kuroda felt every day. I stayed in Singapore for 2 days because flying home immediately after an international race felt wasteful. This was a dangerous thought. The old Ren measured decisions in bus fare. The new Ren measured them in whether using a private jet for one breakfast quest seemed inefficient. I needed supervision. Fortunately, Ms. Kuroda had become very good at saying no. She said no when I considered buying a waterfront apartment because the World Shop offered a guild discount. She said no when Daichi found a GameCoin vending machine business for sale. She said no when Hana showed me the floating castle hotel again. Then the system gave us a cooperative quest involving the floating castle hotel. Ms. Kuroda said several words that were not appropriate for a bank office. The asset was real, although Floating Castle made it sound more magical than it was. It was a huge event platform designed like a fantasy fortress, with hotel rooms, restaurants, performance spaces, and docks. It had been used for themed conventions and luxury parties, then listed for sale after the operating company changed businesses. World Shop price, 72 million game coins. Co-op quest requirement, 2 crown tier players must jointly acquire 1 fleet asset and operate a public guild event within 30 days. Reward, shared global merchant gateway. Hana wanted it. I did not. Then I saw the crown tier discount. Because the platform had lodging, kitchens, storage, and transportation docks, it qualified as kingdom infrastructure. My half would cost 3.6 million after rebate. Hana had a different maritime crown perk, reducing her half to 5.4 million. Together we could buy a floating castle hotel for 9 million actual game coins. I had spent more than that on art during the emergency reserve challenge. I tried to resist. Then Daichi showed me the ballroom shaped like a throne room. I resisted less. Then Hana showed me that the top deck had a pool shaped like a dragon. My resistance died. We bought it. Ms. Kuroda stared at the transaction confirmation for a long time. Then she added a new column to her spreadsheet called Things Ren Owns by Accident or Peer Pressure. The list was becoming uncomfortable. Hana and I named the platform Castle Float because neither of us was allowed to suggest names without adult supervision anymore. Daichi complained that adults had ruined creativity. He had previously named a sports arena Breakfast Dome. His opinion was invalid. The co-op quest gave us 30 days to hold a public guild event there. We decided to worry about that later. That phrase had caused nearly every problem in my life, but I used it anyway. Before returning to Tokyo, I finally called my mother. I had been avoiding the conversation because I did not know how to explain 8 billion game coins. She answered by asking whether I was eating properly, not why I owned a private jet, not why my face was on financial news, not why people online called me Potato Roan in 77. She asked whether I was eating vegetables. I told her yes. This was technically false unless green onions on ramen counted. She said she had seen the helicopter video. I apologized. She asked whether I had purchased the helicopter. I explained that it came with the building. There was a long silence. My mother asked me to repeat the sentence. I did. She said she would rather discuss it in person. So instead of flying directly to Tokyo, I had breakfast money stop near my hometown. When the giant chicken tail appeared at the small airport, my mother was waiting behind the terminal windows with her arms crossed. I knew immediately that wealth could not save me. She hugged me first. Then she grabbed my sleeve and asked why I was still wearing the same worn-out sneakers. I looked down. She was right. I had purchased cars, property, a theater, a jet, a horse, and half a floating castle. I had forgotten to buy shoes. My mother took me to the same shopping street where we used to buy school clothes. I offered to take her somewhere expensive. She refused. She picked a comfortable pair of sneakers that cost less than one dinner at my luxury tower. I paid with GameCoin. Then I tried to buy 10 more pairs. She stopped me. I asked what she wanted. A house? A car? A vacation? A personal chef? She thought for a moment. Her washing machine made a weird noise during spin cycle. She wanted a washing machine. I had 8 billion game coins. My mother wanted a washing machine. We went to an appliance store. She spent 40 minutes comparing water efficiency. I spent 40 minutes staring at a refrigerator with 4 doors because I did not know refrigerators could have that many doors. In the end, we bought one washing machine. Then I quietly prepaid her utilities for several years through approved GameCoin credits. She noticed before we left the store. I had underestimated her. She allowed it, but only after making me promise not to buy her neighborhood. I promised. Then a World Shop promotion appeared offering a discounted retail property 2 streets away. I closed the app immediately. Growth. My mother had 12 game coins from an old account my cousin installed on her phone. She had already spent 4 on cabbage at a grocery promotion. I asked if she felt cheated knowing I had billions. She said no. She remembered how obsessed I had been with the game. If anything, she felt history had finally apologized for all the times I ignored dinner because I was harvesting potatoes. Then she added that if she had known the coins would become money, she would have confiscated my phone and farmed them herself. That sounded like her. I stayed for dinner. My mother made curry. I ate too much. For a few hours, I was not a GameCoin billionaire or a guild leader or the owner of a jet with a giant chicken on it. I was just Ren. Then my phone rang. It was Professor Sakata. He had found the former director of Pixel Forge Mobile. His name was Kenji Moriboshi. He was not missing. He was not hiding in a secret bunker. He was running a curry restaurant in Yokohama. Of course he was. The next day, I went there. I took the train. I want credit for that. Daichi came with me, partly because he wanted answers, and mostly because he heard the curry restaurant had excellent reviews. Kenji Moriboshi was 42, wore an apron with cartoon onions on it, and had the exhausted face of a man who regretted every line of code he had ever approved. When I introduced myself as Potato Roan in 77, he dropped a ladle. That reaction told me more than any interview could. He closed the restaurant for an hour and sat with us in a back booth. I showed him the server 0 key. He rubbed his forehead. Then he asked whether the decorative fountain protocol had activated. I told him no. He looked genuinely relieved. I asked what it did. He refused to answer. That made me want to know more. Kenji explained that Kingdom Tapper Legends had started as a normal idle game. Years later, when the player population fell, the developers began experimenting with ridiculous systems to keep the remaining users entertained. Festival economics, player trading, guild logistics, real-world promotional integrations. They built prototype code that connected in-game rewards to coupons, merchant discounts, travel points, and real businesses. Most of it never launched. The company shut down before it could. But one internal project went much further. Project World Kingdom. It was an absurd developer challenge. What would happen if every major game system controlled a real economy? They created simulations, legal templates, merchant protocols, banking test environments, automated contracts, even mock government integration documents. It was never supposed to leave the test servers. I asked how it became real. Kenji said he had no idea. The company servers were disconnected years ago. The legal authorizations appearing now should have been impossible. Someone or something had taken the prototype and completed it. Daichi asked whether artificial intelligence had done it. Kenji shrugged. I asked whether aliens had done it. Kenji shrugged again. I asked whether a cursed potato had done it. He told me not to joke about the potato. I stopped smiling. Apparently the Golden Potato King had been more than a cosmetic item. It was one of 5 developer test objects used to unlock hidden systems. Server 0 key was another. Hana's account might contain a third. The remaining 2 were unknown. I had traded my Golden Potato King away to acquire Server 0, which meant the old phone from the auction now held it. Kenji said that was probably fine. Probably was not a word I enjoyed hearing from the creator of my financial system. Then he showed me an old development document. It listed the migration order, currency, inventory conversion, guilds, player shops, routes, world shop, prestige. I pointed at prestige. In the game, prestige was a reset mechanic. Players could erase their kingdom progress in exchange for permanent multipliers. My stomach dropped. I asked whether prestige would erase real money. Kenji said it was not supposed to. I reminded him none of this was supposed to happen. He admitted that was a fair point. According to the prototype, real-world prestige was designed as a voluntary financial tier system. A player could lock away a percentage of game coin wealth for a long period in exchange for better merchant privileges, guild boosts, and rare access. No coins were supposed to vanish, but there had been experimental versions. One version reset the visible wallet to 0 and stored the value in a hidden vault. Another version converted wealth into permanent crown score. A third version had been created by an intern as a joke. I asked what the joke version did. Kenji looked embarrassed. It replaced your balance display with potatoes for 24 hours. I stared at him. He reminded me they were a mobile game studio. I asked when Prestige would activate. He did not know. The migration schedule had no dates. Then the Server 0 app opened by itself on my phone. phone. A new progress bar appeared. Legacy synchronization, 94%. Next migration, prestige eligibility scan. Estimated activation, 7 days. I showed Kenji. He stood up so quickly his chair fell backward. That was not encouraging. Then his restaurant register chimed. A customer had paid with GameCoin. Kenji stared at the crown icon on the screen and sighed. He said if the world insisted on using his stupid game economy, he at least wanted transaction fees reduced. I invited him to Broke Breakfast Club. He accepted. His automatic guild title appeared. Former creator, current curry merchant. Daichi laughed into the table. Kenji demanded I change it. I told him I did not control automatic titles. For once, that was true. Before we left, Kenji gave me one final piece of advice. Do not press any button labeled Ascend. I asked whether such a button existed. He said not yet. On the train home, my phone received a notification. New achievement unlocked. Meet your maker. Reward. 1 Ascension preview ticket. I almost threw the phone out the window. I did not use the Ascension preview ticket for almost 6 hours. That is a personal record for resisting a glowing button. I went home, attended 1 actual university lecture, answered 3 questions from reporters, approved a maintenance budget for the Imperial Sky residence, rejected Daichi's proposal to turn Breakfast Dome into a giant indoor chicken race, and tried to live like a normal student. Then I sat in the back row of Professor Sakata's class staring at the ticket icon. It pulsed every 5 seconds. Professor Sakata noticed. He stopped the lecture and told me not to press it. I said it was only a preview. He said those were exactly the words people used before clicking things they've regretted. The entire class turned around. I put the phone face down. 30 seconds later, Daichi whispered that we could probably preview it safely on his phone if I transferred the ticket. Professor Sakata threw a marker at him. After class, we called Kenji. He said a preview ticket should only show information. It should not trigger prestige. The word should bothered me. Ms. Kuroda joined the call and made him explain every known version of the feature. Finally, we agreed to open the preview in a bank conference room with Kenji, Professor Sakata, Ms. Kuroda, Daichi, and 2 software engineers watching. It felt like we were defusing a bomb. I pressed the ticket. The screen went gold. A cartoon castle rose through clouds. Trumpets played. Then a smiling chicken wearing glasses appeared and waved. The bank engineers looked offended by the production value. The prestige preview showed 4 possible paths. Merchant crown, builder crown, explorer crown, collector crown. Each path offered permanent bonuses but required locking a portion of game coins into a prestige vault for at least 1 year. Merchant crown improved marketplace fees and business rewards. Builder crown improved property and infrastructure rebates. Explorer crown improved travel quests and world shop access. Collector crown improved legacy item conversion and rare item detection. I already had absurd discounts, so builder crown seemed unnecessary. Daichi wanted explorer crown because he had seen the orbital experience listing. Ms. Kuroda threatened to remove him from the room. Then the preview scanned my account. Prestige eligibility extreme. Recommended lock amount 6 billion game coins. I laughed. Nobody else did. 6 billion coins would be locked for a year. I would still have nearly 2 billion liquid, but psychologically it felt like putting a mountain inside a safe and throwing the key into next summer. I had no reason to do it. Then the preview displayed a hidden benefit. Eligible crown tier players who completed prestige would gain protection from future currency migrations. Kenji became quiet. I asked what future currency migrations meant. He said the prototype had experimented with multiple money systems. GameCoin was only the first. There had been gems, honor points, guild seals, festival stars, and a premium currency called Royal Diamonds that had never launched publicly. I felt a headache forming. I had just survived 1 dead currency becoming real. I did not want 5 more. The preview continued. Legacy device scan required for final prestige verification. Please connect the oldest device associated with this account. I knew exactly where that device was. My mother had a box in her closet containing every phone I had ever owned because she believed electronic devices should never be thrown away until someone had checked whether they contained family photos. The oldest phone associated with Kingdom Tapper Legends was there. The ancient farming phone. The sacred potato machine. I called my mother. She said she had found it while cleaning after my visit. She also said it was still plugged into the charger I used as a teenager because she wanted to see whether it turned on. I asked her not to open Kingdom Tapper Legends. There was silence. Then she said she had already opened it. My phone chimed. Legacy device reconnected. Everyone in the conference room looked at me. A second notification appeared. Unsynchronized offline production detected. My entire body went cold. I had forgotten one detail. When the game shut down, that old phone had been offline for months. I had used it as a dedicated farm device. It contained a local copy of my kingdom from before the final server shutdown. Apparently, the restored system had just found years of unresolved production data. A calculation wheel appeared. Processing offline farms. Processing moon potato multiplier. Processing festival bonus. Processing idle treasury. Processing dragon accountant interest. Kenji whispered that dragon accountants were never supposed to earn interest offline. I reminded him his company had not been good at supposed to. The number kept spinning. Then my GameCoin balance changed. 7,963,421,800. 8,400,000,000. 9,200,000,000. 10,800,000,000. 12,100,000,000. It stopped at 13,684,772,910 game coins. Nobody spoke. I had just gained nearly 6 billion legal currency because my mother plugged in an old phone. Daichi stood up and walked around the conference table once. Professor Sakata sat down even though he was already sitting. Ms. Kuroda removed her glasses and put them carefully on the table. Kenji stared at the balance and said one word. Potatoes? The global ranking updated. Potato Ronin 77 moved to number 1. Sleepy Empress dropped to number 2. My phone rang 30 seconds later. Hana did not say hello. She said she hated my mother. I put the call on speaker. My mother, still on the other line, heard her and asked who she was. I explained that Hana had been the richest GameCoin holder in the world until 5 minutes ago. My mother apologized. Then she asked Hana whether she had checked all her old devices. There was silence. Hana hung up. 2 minutes later, she messaged me that she was going to her parents' storage unit. The global economy had become a competition to find old electronics in family closets. My new balance triggered another achievement. Beyond maximum. Reward. 1 mythic relic search. I had never seen that item in the original game. Kenji had. His face changed. He told me not to use it publicly. I asked why. The mythic relic search identified developer test objects connected to active accounts. The 5 objects he had mentioned earlier were part of a hidden internal system called the Crown Set. Golden Potato King. Server 0 Key. Ocean Ledger. Builder's Hammer. Jester Crown. If one player temporarily registered all 5, the prototype unlocked master account diagnostics. Not control over the economy. Not unlimited money. Just diagnostics. But diagnostics could reveal what process had activated Project World Kingdom. That was the first real chance to understand why any of this was happening. I used the mythic relic search privately. A map appeared. Server 0 Key. Owned by me. Golden Potato King Tokyo. That made sense. I had traded it to the auction phone, and the seller had apparently moved it back to Tokyo. Ocean Ledger, Singapore. Hana. Builder's Hammer. Registered location hidden. Jester Crown. Active account detected. Owner name revealed. Kazuma Sayonji. I started laughing. Kazuma had one of the developer objects and probably had no idea. I called him. He answered suspiciously. I asked whether he owned an old item called Jester Crown. He said no. Then he paused. He said he owned something called Emperor's Magnificent Crown. Kenji covered his face. Apparently that had been the public fake name for Jester Crown. The item gave plus 1% festival reputation and made a player's avatar sparkle. Kazuma loved it because of course he did. I told him it was a developer relic. He asked how much it was worth. I told him I did not know. He immediately said 100 million game coins. I told him goodbye. He lowered it to 50 million. I said no. He said he would trade for coupon. I told him he had crossed a line. Coupon was not for sale. Eventually we agreed to meet and discuss a temporary relic registration. I did not need to own the item permanently. The Crown Set diagnostic only required all 5 to be registered in one party for 10 minutes. Hana agreed to bring the Ocean Ledger from Singapore. The Golden Potato King could probably be borrowed from the auction company that left Builder's Hammer. Its location was hidden. The mythic relic search gave one clue. Last activation. 6 years ago. Associated event, build a castle in 1 day. Kenji remembered that event. It had been a promotional competition where players submitted screenshots of castle designs. The winner received Builder's Hammer, an item that reduced construction time. He searched old records. The winning username was Brick Princess. No real name, no contact information, no public activity since the game shut down. We searched the restored player directory. Brick Princess had logged in once since GameCoin became real. Balance, 2,140 game coins. No purchases, no guild, no region shown. Then Daichi noticed the avatar. Brick Princess's profile picture was a tiny pink castle with a handwritten sign. The sign said Miki's Model Town. Emi searched the phrase online. There was one match. A small independent miniature museum in Nagano run by a woman named Miki Hayashi. Her website showed handmade model towns castles, train stations, and tiny shops. One photo in the background displayed a framed Kingdom Tapper Legends contest certificate. We had found Brick Princess. I checked transportation. Train options were easy. Driving was easy. Then Breakfast Money's pilot messaged me that the aircraft was available all afternoon. Daichi looked at me. I looked at him. We both looked at Ms. Kuroda. She said we were taking the train. So naturally, the GameCoin app generated a travel quest offering 20,000 crown score for visiting a legacy relic holder by private aircraft. Ms. Kuroda stared at the notification. I did not say anything. She stared longer. Then she told me she hated this game. Breakfast Money was fueled within the hour. Breakfast Money landed at a small regional airport with its giant golden chicken visible from half the prefecture. By the time we reached the terminal, 3 local news crews were already there. I had no idea how they moved that fast. Maybe journalists had their own hidden fast travel system. We escaped through a side exit and drove to Miki's model town. The museum was inside a converted warehouse near a quiet shopping street. From the outside, it looked modest. Inside, it was incredible. Tiny cities filled entire rooms. Miniature trains moved between mountains. Little apartment buildings had laundry hanging from balconies. A model shopping street contained hundreds of hand-painted signs. There was even a tiny convenience store with a tiny payment screen. Daichi immediately asked whether it accepted GameCoin. Miki Hayashi told him to leave. She was 31. Wore paint-stained overalls and had the focused expression of someone who could build a 3-centimeter staircase straighter than most contractors built real ones. When I introduced myself, she recognized my username instantly. Not from the news, from the old game. Brick Princess had ranked 2nd in the castle design event the year before she won Builder's Hammer. I had ranked somewhere around 11,000 because my castle looked like a potato warehouse. She remembered it. I wish she did not. I explained the crown set and asked whether she still had Builder's Hammer. Miki pulled out her phone. The item was there, a tiny silver hammer with a pink ribbon. She had never converted it or sold it because it was the only event she had ever won. I offered to pay her for temporary use. She refused. I offered 1 million game coins. She refused faster. I offered 5 million. She told me money was not the problem. That immediately made the negotiation harder. Miki had spent years building miniature towns because she loved creating spaces. The old game contest had been one of the first times strangers praised her designs. Builder's Hammer mattered to her. I understood. My stupid game account mattered to me too, even before the balance became real, so I stopped trying to buy it. I asked what she wanted. Miki pointed toward the back of the museum. A huge empty display area waited behind temporary walls. She wanted to build a new centerpiece. A miniature fantasy city large enough to fill the room. She had planned it for 2 years, but material costs and labor made it difficult. Then GameCoin became real, and Builder's Hammer gained a conversion ability. One approved creative construction project could receive accelerated contractor support and material discounts. But the system required a guild sponsor with builder-class property privileges. She had no guild. I had absurd builder privileges. We made a deal. Broke Breakfast Club would sponsor the project. Miki would keep full creative control. I would cover the verified material and labor purchases. In return, she would join the Crown Set party long enough to run diagnostics. She agreed. Then Daichi asked whether the miniature city could include crown noodles. Miki told him to leave again. The project itself became another event because nothing in my life could stay small anymore. Builder's Hammer activated. Local carpenters, model makers, electricians, painters, students, and volunteers registered through the system. Materials arrived at accelerated rates. The museum qualified for one of my instant build tickets, which covered the basic room renovation within 24 hours. Miki designed the miniature city like a fantasy version of modern life. Tiny castles beside train stations, dragon statues over convenience stores, apartment towers with rooftop farms, a little airport with a white and gold jet. I noticed the jet's tail had a microscopic chicken. Miki claimed historical accuracy. I respected her cruelty. The build took 3 days, not 1. Because real humans still needed sleep and safety mattered more than game timers. But the GameCoin system treated it as a successful Builder's Hammer event. The museum received a huge publicity boost. Visitors filled the street. Miki's gift shop sold tiny golden hammer keychains. She joined Broke Breakfast Club under the automatic title Supreme Miniature Architect. She liked her title. Kenji was furious. He was still former creator, current curry merchant. With Miki secured, we had 4 relic holders cooperating. I contacted the auction company for the Golden Potato King. They had already transferred the item to a private collector. I felt my stomach tighten. Then they told me the collector's name. Mrs. Ueda. I called her. She answered while gardening. I asked why she had bought the Golden Potato King. She said it was cute. I asked what she paid. 30,000 game coins. I had traded an item worth more than 10 million in auction equivalents, and the company had later sold it for 30,000 because nobody understood what it did. Mrs. Ueda had purchased it because she liked the eyebrows. Economics was fake. She agreed to bring it to the relic gathering. Now we needed a location. Hana reminded me that Castle Float still had a cooperative quest deadline. We had to host a public guild event within 30 days. A floating fantasy hotel seemed like the perfect place to assemble 5 developer relics from a dead fantasy mobile game. I hated that this made sense. We scheduled the first Broke Breakfast Club and Naptime Empire International Guild Festival aboard Castle Float in Singapore. The event sold out in 8 minutes. Not because people cared about diagnostics. Most people did not know about the relics. They wanted to see the floating castle, meet famous GameCoin players, trade old items, eat cheap food, and take pictures beside the dragon pool. We invited Golden Lion Dynasty too. Kazuma agreed on one condition. He wanted his jester crown displayed in a glass case labeled Emperor's Magnificent Crown. Kenji told him the real internal name. Kazuma refused to accept it. We compromised by labeling it Emperor's Magnificent Crown, also unfortunately known as Jester Crown. He hated me for that. Castle Float opened for the festival on a sunny Saturday. The platform looked ridiculous in the best possible way. Stone-colored walls rose above the water. Towers held hotel suites. Banners from 3 guilds hung over the main courtyard. Food stalls filled the lower deck. A player market occupied the ballroom. Hana created a nap zone with reclining chairs and strict quiet rules. Broke Breakfast Club ran cheap breakfast service until noon. Golden Lion Dynasty sponsored a fashion exhibition where Kazuma changed jackets 4 times. Mrs. Ueda ran an unofficial table teaching younger players how to value old decorative items. Her table had the longest line. Coupon even appeared through a licensed equestrian demonstration partnership at a nearby shore facility, although I kept him away from the floating platform because I did not need to discover whether horses liked elevators. The co-op quest required us to host 1,000 visitors, complete 50 international player trades, serve 500 meals, and finish 1 shared guild challenge. We completed the first 3 before lunch. The shared challenge appeared at 1 o'clock. Construct a throne from recyclable materials and keep it occupied continuously for 2 hours. Nobody knew why. Daichi declared himself project manager. That should have worried me. Players collected cardboard, reusable display boards, packaging, and plastic crates from event vendors. Miki supervised structural stability because apparently even stupid throne quests had safety rules. Within 40 minutes we had a giant cardboard throne covered in painted game coin crowns. Then we needed someone to sit on it for 2 hours. Kazuma volunteered immediately. The system rejected him. Random occupant selection required. The winner was Professor Sakata. He stared at the screen in horror. For 2 hours my economics professor sat on a cardboard throne while strangers took photographs and asked him questions about inflation. He answered every question seriously. It became the most educational event at the festival. Co-op quest complete. Castle Float gained permanent public event merchant status. Hana and I received the shared global merchant gateway that allowed our guild businesses to list certain products internationally with reduced settlement fees. Crown Noodles immediately received an order for branded bowls from Singapore. Daichi claimed this made us a multinational noodle empire. We owned 1 noodle shop. He printed another business card anyway. At 6 o'clock that evening, after most public activities ended, we moved to a private conference room on the upper deck. The 5 relics were there. My Server 0 key, Mrs. Ueda's Golden Potato King, Hana's Ocean Ledger which looked like a blue book with a cartoon whale on it, Miki's Builder's Hammer, Kazuma's Jester Crown. Kenji joined us. So did Ms. Kuroda, Professor Sakata, Daichi, and 2 technical specialists. We registered 1 temporary crown set party. The system accepted each relic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A new icon appeared. Master Diagnostics. No money reward. No fireworks. No chicken. For the first time, the interface looked plain. I opened it. The screen filled with system information. Project World Kingdom status, active. Legal settlement layer, active. Merchant integration layer, active. Government recognition layer, active. Legacy conversion layer, active. Migration progress, 96%. Prestige scan, scheduled. Kenji scrolled through technical logs. Most of it meant nothing to me. Then he stopped. Activation source. The field should have shown an internal server account. Instead, it displayed an identifier he had never seen. Player account guest 00000001. Creation date 3 days before Kingdom Tapper Legends originally launched. Balance hidden. Country, none. Status, online. Daichi asked whether it was a developer test account. Kenji said no. The account predated the public launch, but it was not in his records. Hana tried to open the profile. Access denied. I used server 0. Access denied. Kazuma tried because he believed expensive haircuts improved software permissions. Access denied. Then guest 00000001 sent our crown set party a message. Nice work. That was all. Everyone stared at the screen. Daichi typed, "Who are you?" No response. I typed, "Why is Gamecoin real?" No response. Hana typed, "Do you have more coins than me?" The account responded immediately, "Yes." Hana looked personally attacked. I asked how many. The reply came, "Enough." Then the diagnostic menu changed. New migration file detected. Kenji swore the file name was not Prestige. It was Expansion Pack 1. I looked at Kenji. He said Kingdom Tapper Legends had never released an expansion pack. The game had been a mobile idle game. There was nothing to expand. The file contained one preview image, a map of the world, not countries, zones. Hundreds of glowing zones marked with icons for shops, travel, construction, guilds, and unknown symbols. One unknown symbol looked like a crown inside a black star. There were 12 of them. One was directly beneath Castle Float. Everyone looked down at the floor. Daichi asked if the floating castle was sitting on buried treasure. I reminded him we were on water. He corrected himself. Sunken treasure. That was not better. The diagnostic screen displayed one final line. Expansion Pack 1 unlock condition. First prestige player. Then the crown set party expired. The relics returned to their owners. The plain diagnostic interface vanished, and my phone returned to the cheerful kingdom screen where a chicken was bouncing beside a potato field. I had never wanted to punch a cartoon chicken more. For the next 2 days, nobody in our group agreed on what to do. Kenji wanted to delay prestige until he understood the code. Professor Sakata wanted models, scenarios, safeguards, and approximately 900 more spreadsheets. Ms. Kuroda wanted every financial regulator on Earth to stop calling her personal phone. Daichi wanted me to press the button because Expansion Pack 1 sounded awesome. Hana wanted to know whether the unknown guest account really had more coins than both of us combined. Kazuma wanted to know whether Prestige made crowns visually larger. Mickey went home and built miniatures. Mrs. Ueda went sightseeing. I considered joining Mrs. Ueda. Then the Prestige eligibility scan went public. Every account received a status. Most players were not eligible. The minimum balance was 100 million game coins plus one completed legacy achievement chain. Only 27 people in the world qualified. Hana qualified. I qualified. A retired teacher in Canada qualified because he had somehow completed every fishing achievement. A woman in Brazil qualified through bakery events. A teenager in Germany qualified because his father had kept an old family tablet running the game in a kitchen drawer. Kazuma did not qualify. He was furious. He had spent too much during his first week. The system told him he needed another 63 million game coins. He posted a video saying eligibility thresholds were elitist. For once, the internet agreed with him. I offered to lend him the money. The Prestige system rejected borrowed funds. He accused the game of targeting him personally. Kenji said the game had no emotions. Then Kazuma's jester crown sparkled on his avatar for no reason. Nobody said anything. Prestige was voluntary, but the first player to complete it would unlock Expansion Pack 1 globally. That turned the entire world into spectators again. Prediction markets appeared. News channels ranked eligible players. Gamecoin influencers made videos analyzing which crown path each person would choose. Someone created a 30-minute documentary about my breakfast habits. I did not watch it. My mother did. She said they used an unflattering photo of me eating noodles. I had bigger concerns. The 4 prestige paths now showed final lock requirements based on individual account history. My merchant crown required 4.8 billion game coins. Builder crown required 5.2 billion. Explorer crown required 5.7 billion. Collector crown required 6 billion. The coins would enter a 1-year vault and remain mine, but I could not spend them. In exchange, I would receive permanent account bonuses and unlock Expansion Pack 1 if I was first. Hana's requirements were similar. She messaged me that she was leaning toward Explorer crown. I asked why. She sent the orbital experience listing. Of course. I considered Collector crown because Server 0 made rare item information valuable. Then I considered Builder crown because my account had already turned property discounts into a comedy weapon. Then Merchant crown because the guild's small businesses could benefit. I kept changing my mind. Daichi solved the problem by creating a spinning wheel with all 4 options. I confiscated the wheel. While the world waited for someone to prestige, I did something nobody expected. I went back to class. Professor Sakata had a midterm midterm exam. Apparently owning billions of game coins did not exempt me from statistics. I sat in a normal chair with a normal pencil and stared at a question about probability while my phone, powered off inside my backpack, contained enough currency to buy my university lunch for several million years. The contrast was so stupid I started laughing during the exam. Professor Sakata told me to stop. I finished with 12 minutes left. Then I took the train to driving school. Yes, driving school. I still owned a Lamborghini I could not legally drive. That humiliation had lasted long enough. My instructor recognized me immediately. He asked whether I had brought the Lamborghini. I told him absolutely not. I learned in a small white training car with an extra brake pedal on the instructor's side. I stalled twice. I parked crooked. I forgot a turn signal once. The instructor told me my financial assets did not improve my steering. I respected him deeply. At the end of the lesson, the GameCoin app rewarded me 20 coins for completing a beginner driving quest. I looked at the reward, 20. Then I looked at my 13.6 billion balance. I laughed again. Normal life had not disappeared. It had just become surrounded by ridiculous numbers. That evening, Hana called an emergency video meeting. Guest 000000001 had sent her a message. First prestige bonus will expire in 48 hours. She showed us the screenshot. A new timer had appeared globally. If nobody completed prestige within 48 hours, expansion pack 1 would remain locked until the next migration cycle. Kenji estimated that could be months. Daichi said waiting months was unacceptable. Ms. Kuroda said waiting months sounded peaceful. I agreed with both of them. Then guest 0000001 sent me a message too. Choose carefully, Potatorone and 77. I typed back that I hated the username. The account replied, you chose it. I had no defense. I asked what crown path guest had selected. The account replied with one word, none. I asked why. No answer. I asked what expansion pack 1 did. No answer. I asked whether decorative fountain protocol was dangerous. The response came instantly. Very. I stared at the message. Then a second message arrived. For property values, I laughed against my will. Whoever controlled guest 0000001 had jokes that made them either less terrifying or much more terrifying. The next day, all 27 eligible players joined a secure international call organized by banks and regulators. I expected powerful investors and legendary gamers. Instead, the group looked like a random online class. A teacher, a bakery owner, an engineer, 2 students, a dentist, a grandmother, a taxi driver, a professional musician, Hana in pajamas, me wearing my old hoodie. That was the hidden truth of GameCoin wealth. The original game had not cared who was important in real life. It rewarded people who tapped chickens, decorated castles, forgot tablets in drawers, and stayed awake during potato events. The world's new financial elite looked ridiculous because we were ridiculous. We agreed on a basic safety protocol. Nobody would prestige until Kenji's technical team completed one more review. If one player chose to proceed, they would announce it first so banks could monitor the vault behavior. For 20 hours, nobody moved. Then the Canadian fishing teacher almost prestiged by accident while trying to enlarge the text on his phone. The international call became very loud. He canceled at the final confirmation screen. Kenji changed his recommendation from proceed cautiously to please put the phones down. At 12 hours remaining, Hana messaged me privately. She was ready to do it. Her logic was simple. Locking 5 billion game coins still left her with more money than she had ever expected to own. Explorer Crown suited her. The system had handled every other migration without deleting balances. Someone would eventually press the button anyway. She did not want that someone to be a person who had no idea what they were doing. I understood. I also hated losing. That part was less noble. If Hana became first, Naptime Empire would unlock the expansion and receive the first prestige bonus. I had no idea what the bonus was. That made me want it more. My 13-year-old gamer brain had awakened. I opened Prestige. 4 crowns rotated on the screen. Merchant, Builder, Explorer, Collector. I thought about everything that had happened. My raw balance had been useful, but the funniest and most powerful moments came from understanding old items better than everyone else. The Golden Potato King got me Server 0. The Carrot item helped Coupon win. Forgotten Lumber and Furnace tokens became real benefits. Relics led us to diagnostics. My entire fortune existed because teenage me understood an event mechanic nobody respected. Collector Crown fit me. Required vault, 6 billion game coins. I selected it. Final confirmation appeared. Warning, locked funds unavailable for 1 year. Warning, Crown choice permanent. Warning, Prestige may alter account presentation. That last line sounded suspiciously like potatoes. I called Kenji. He said the vault implementation looked safe. I called Ms. Kuroda. She said the bank had prepared monitoring systems. I called my mother. She asked whether I had eaten dinner. I said yes. She told me to stop calling her every time I wanted permission to do something stupid with imaginary money. I reminded her the money was real now. She said that made it worse. Then she told me to make my own decision. So I did. I pressed Prestige. The screen asked whether I was certain. I pressed yes. It asked whether I was absolutely certain. I pressed yes. A chicken appeared holding a tiny legal document. It asked whether I had read the terms. I had not. Ms. Kuroda made me read them. 23 minutes later, I pressed yes. 6 billion game coins moved from my active balance into Prestige Vault. My spendable balance dropped to 7,684,772,910. Still ridiculous. Collector Crown activated. Permanent Legacy Detection bonus unlocked. Rare Conversion Preview unlocked. Player Shop Authenticity Scan unlocked. Crown Score Multiplier unlocked. Then the global system chimed. First Prestige completed. Potataronin77 has unlocked Expansion Pack 1. I waited. Nothing happened. Daichi stared at my phone. Kenji stared at the diagnostic monitor. Hana sent me one message. You potato thief. Then my balance display vanished. In its place appeared a row of potato icons. I stopped breathing. Kenji began laughing. The intern joke version. For 24 hours, my account no longer displayed numbers. It displayed potatoes. One potato represented an unspecified amount of wealth. My banking app still confirmed the funds were safe. Transactions still worked, but every time I tried to check my balance, I saw potatoes. Daichi took a screenshot before I could stop him. Within 5 minutes, the image was online. The richest GameCoin player in the world had prestiged and turned his money into potatoes. News channels went insane. Kazuma posted a video claiming this proved Prestige was financially irresponsible. Then he privately asked me how to become eligible. Hana waited until we confirmed my vault was stable. Then she selected Explorer Crown and Prestiges too. Her balance display turned into pillows. She called me and demanded an explanation. I told her mine was potatoes. She said that did not help. The expansion pack finally began installing at midnight. Every GameCoin user saw a progress bar. 1%, 5%, 12%. The download was not actually coming through the normal app store. The system updated itself, just like everything else. At 50%, the world map unlocked. At 70%, new icons appeared. At 90%, a new currency tab appeared. Royal Diamonds. Balance 0. Kenji groaned. Royal Diamonds had been the unreleased premium currency. Unlike GameCoin, they could not be purchased with normal money. The prototype awarded them only through major achievements, hidden zones, and crown events. That meant my billions could not simply buy them. For the first time since the morning at the convenience store, I was poor in a currency again. Daichi looked delighted. He said the game had balanced me. I told him to leave my penthouse. At 100%, Expansion Pack 1 opened. The world map zoomed toward our region. Black Star Crown icons appeared in 12 places around the planet. The nearest one was not under Castle Float anymore because I was back in Tokyo. Now the nearest icon was less than 2 kilometers from my apartment. I zoomed in. My heart stopped. The black star sat directly over the convenience store where I had bought my first GameCoin breakfast. Of course it did. A quest appeared. Crown Zone 1 discovered. Entry requirement: 1 prestiged player. Reward: 1 royal diamond. Special condition: arrive before sunrise. I checked the time. 4:38 in the morning. Sunrise was less than an hour away. I called Daichi. He answered half asleep. I told him to get dressed. He asked whether we were taking the helicopter. I looked at the rooftop. Then I looked at the map. The convenience store was 2 kilometers away. I told him no. We were running. 20 minutes later, I was sprinting down the street in brand new sneakers my mother had chosen, wearing a hoodie over pajama pants, while the richest potato-based wallet in the world bounced in my pocket. Daichi caught up on a rental bicycle and laughed at me. I told him cycling was cheating. The quest said arrive, not run. He passed me. I hated him. We reached the convenience store at 5:06. The same cashier from that first morning was working. He recognized me immediately. He looked at my face, my pajama pants, and Daichi's bicycle. Then he asked whether billionaires normally arrived like this. I told him my helicopter was excessive. He nodded as if that explained everything. The black star icon hovered over the payment register on my screen. I approached it. A new option appeared beneath cash card and GameCoin. Royal Diamond. I had 0. Then the register screen flickered. A hidden menu opened. Crown Zone Challenge? Purchase the same breakfast that began your account migration journey. I stared at the shelves. Tuna, mayonnaise, rice ball, carton of milk. The exact breakfast from the morning this madness began. I picked them up. The total appeared. I selected GameCoin. My balance still showed potatoes. The cashier stared at the potato icons. I told him not to ask. I paid. The register dinged. The black star cracked open on my phone. A tiny diamond appeared. Royal diamond balance 1. Daichi leaned over my shoulder. A World Shop notification appeared instantly. Prestige exclusive auction available. 1 listing. Starting price 1 royal diamond. Item Crown Zone Deed Number 1. Description: ownership rights unknown until auction completion. Auction begins in 12 hours. Then another notification arrived. Sleepy Empress has discovered Crown Zone 2. Then another. Unknown prestige player has discovered Crown Zone 3. I froze. Only Hana and I had publicly completed prestige. Someone else had done it silently. I opened the global prestige ranking. Number 1. Potato Roan in 77. Number 2. Sleepy Empress. Number 3 had no visible username, just a black crown. I tapped it. Profile unavailable. Then guest 000000001 sent me a friend request again, even though we were already connected. The old connection had vanished. This new account looked different. Username guest 0000001. Prestige crown unknown. Royal diamonds 999. I stared at the number. I had 1. Hana had 1. Guest had 999. A message appeared. Welcome to the real economy. I slowly looked at Daichi. He slowly looked at me. Behind us, the cashier asked whether I still wanted the receipt. I took it. Some habits survive anything. Then the lights on every payment terminal in the store turned black and gold. A countdown appeared. Prestige auction begins in 11 hours. 59 minutes. Guest 0000001 is currently the highest qualified bidder. My royal diamond balance sat at 1. My GameCoin balance was still a pile of potatoes. My private jet had a giant chicken painted on it. My floating castle needed an event maintenance inspection. My horse was waiting for carrots. My midterm grade had not been posted yet, and somewhere in the new expansion map were enough hidden crown zones to make 8 billion game coins look like beginner money. I picked up my tuna rice ball. Daichi asked what we were going to do. I took 1 bite. This time I did not need to check whether I could afford breakfast. I only needed to figure out how to beat a mysterious pre-launch account with 998 more royal diamonds than me before an auction started. For some reason that felt familiar. A stupid game had given me an impossible resource gap. Teenage me had faced that problem before. Teenage me had responded by farming potatoes for years. I smiled. If guest 0000001 thought I was going to lose just because the numbers looked impossible, then whoever was behind that account had made one serious mistake. They had turned my childhood mobile game into real life, and nobody in the world had wasted more time learning how to break that game than me.